What if Deku was trained by legends? From gods, demons, and
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Was Trained by Whis, Escanor, Echo, Blackbeard and Kaneki movie. Before we start, please go support SmilpionVoorhees for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made, there will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Deku is a male. Farewell. Currently you can see a green-haired man facing the League of Villains, while the symbol of peace is facing All for One. Many heroes felt useless, seeing that someone without a quirk was able to keep the League distracted. The only hero who saw that with respect and admiration was Gran Torino, who was being treated due to his injuries from his battle against the League and AFO. The UA students who went to rescue their classmate Bakugo had only made the situation worse, since due to the debris they threw and the ice they left behind, they left the green-haired boy in a difficult situation, and on top of that, the heroine Mount Lady was out of combat for protecting the UA students. Despite having a great disadvantage, Izuku, let's stop the bullshit, we already knew it was Izuku, had managed to keep the League at bay, until AFO decided that it was better for the League to be outside since that way, he could use all his power against those two. AFO? Very well, symbol of peace. I see that you need the help of a useless guy without a quirk to defeat me, ha. And what happened to your successor? Truly that now he is useless. Ha. Almight. Shut up, damn you. After saying that, Almight would launch himself against AFO trying to connect a blow, but instead he would be pushed aside by Izuku, thus causing the blow that was going straight to Almight to miss, hitting Izuku and destroying his left arm. AFO? Even though he was the better option, you decided to give your power to a useless guy. Ha. This is your final symbol of peace. Almight just felt angry because what he said was true. Almight, despite seeing Izuku's heroic actions, told him that he was not material to be a hero and gave his power to Mirio, who in the end did not have the courage to take charge of AFO and only controlled 2% without breaking his bones. Almight at this moment was regretting everything he did. Izuku had managed to enter UA in the support course thanks to his intelligence and quirk analysis. Despite that, the abuse towards him did not stop, since every day during recess they insulted him and demeaned him, forcing him to take his recess in his classroom, since of the 10 classmates he has only one hates him, and that was Mei Hatsum, since according to her, it was impossible for a useless person without a quirk to stand out more than her babies. And that was not all, since the 1A and 1B courses insulted him a lot too. Only 7 of them defended him and admired him for having entered UA without the need for a quirk. These were Tokoyami, Kinoko, Ibara, Kendo, Hajiro, Mina and Toru. Despite that, Izuku was always insulted and even received beatings from the 1A and 1B courses, this being totally unfair to him. Almight. Get out of here, young Izuku. You're only hurting yourself. Izuku. I'm not leaving here until I see this wretch defeated. He said this while enduring the pain in his arm. AFO? In that case, die. AFO would have thrown a punch with his mutated arm due to the quirks he had and was going to hit All Might directly, but at the last moment Izuku would have replaced All Might, receiving the entire blow, giving All Might time to finish AFO once and for all, leaving All Might as the winner, but at a high price, since the blow that Izuku received was so powerful that it shattered all his bones and left his organs mashed, leaving him on the verge of death. The media and the people watching the fight were celebrating All Might's victory, and he was also doing so by raising his arm in a sign of victory until Gran Torino spoke. Gran Torino. Stop celebrating, idiot. He said this while holding an Izuku who was about to die in his arms. The media, spectators and All Might, after the cry of Gran Torino, would stop celebrating, seeing the state in which Izuku was. At first glance you could know that he was not going to survive. Those who managed to become Izuku's friends were crying because they were losing a good friend. Those who insulted him regretted what they did to him, and some even cried as much for the loss as for everything they did to him, but the most affected was Hatsum. She felt like the worst scum of humanity, since despite being very kind, having an incredible sense of justice and incredible intelligence, she always wished him the worst, but what broke her the most was that the last thing he said to her was if you died, you would do the world a useless cursed favor. Just remembering that would fall into a very strong depression. At UA the teachers would be very sad for Izuku, but more power loader, since he always liked Izuku, and the students felt very sad for the loss of a true hero who offered his life in exchange for saving many more. All Might. Resist, young Izuku, we will help you. Izuku. That this far I've arrived. Gran Torino. Calm down, tears coming out, you can rest in peace now. After that Izuku would close his eyes little by little until finally he closed his eyes forever, or that's what the green-haired boy thought. After Izuku's death, a proper funeral would be given to Izuku like a hero without a cape. Let's clarify a couple of things. 1. Izuku doesn't have a quirk and he wasn't given the one for all either. 2. Izuku has no family since they died in an accident. 3. The idea of the beginning was recommended by, so I send him a big hug and greetings wherever he is, and I thank him. 4. Do you still have time to tell me all the powers you want Izuku to have? 5. If you want there to be a harem or any girl heroine that you want in the story, write her name and the video game and I'm comic movie series from wherever it is. Without further ado, I say goodbye. Bye. Consequences, training and a positive error. After the events of the previous chapter in the world of Boku no Hero, a huge change would be seen, not only in society in fact, where the biggest change was seen was in the UA. Let's start by seeing how the hero classes 1A and 1B are doing, starting with class A. In this class, the most affected was Bakugo, since he along with most of the class, bothered him and even hit him until they got bored, but Bakugo not only bothered him in UA, but outside of it and in the past. This was frowned upon by Mitsuki, and when she found out about Izuku's sad ending, she was devastated and her husband was a little better than Mitsuki, but they were still in very bad shape. The others were also very depressed, and some even left the academy, arguing that they do not deserve to be called heroes. After what they did to Izuku, those who supported the green-haired boy from the beginning were also very sad and somewhat angry, since it took their friend to die for them to realize what the boy was worth and that they lost a great friend and a true hero. In the case of Class B, it was something very similar to Class A, but in a more evident way, since mmmmm, being his normal attitude a very irritating one, changed to a very calm, depressed and cold one, since the death of the green-haired boy in his class hit him much worse, since he felt terrible for everything he did to him, and even worse, after those who were friends of the green-haired boy took it out on them, by claiming that if he had not died, he would never change his way of thinking about him. But the teachers the most affected were Power Loader, Almight and Nezu. Almight, because he blames himself for the death of the young man, Nezu for losing a student who could have been a great hero and a great inventor, but Power Loader's case was completely different, since he became so depressed that he didn't feel like teaching again, since in his words, it's not the same without Izuku. But the one who had the worst time was Mei, since she was now very depressed. She was no longer with that hyperactive attitude, and even she lost her interest in creating babies to such an extent that she left UA, and she definitely stopped creating her inventions, since whenever she tried she remembered Izuku, his attitude, how he treated her, and especially the last thing he said to her. This made her break down in tears always. Even considering the idea of suicide, since she being the one who screwed him up the most in UA, the emotional blow she had was the most powerful of all, and now she wouldn't leave her room, and now she dedicated herself to trying to help whoever she saw. But it was very difficult for her, since, even though she tried to forget it, whenever she did something good, something kind, something that Deku would do, she remembered everything and therefore became depressed. Now, leaving aside what they suffered, let's focus our attention on a green-haired man who was apparently unconscious. In a completely black space, only the figure of a young man of approximately 15 years of age and a man with light blue skin, long white hair, and feminine and elegant features could be seen. He is dressed in a maroon tunic, a kind of black and white breastplate with yellow, orange, and white details, black high heels, and wears a blue ring around his neck. He also carries a long, blue and yellow scepter with a black jewel floating at the top. That's right, this was Whis, but what's he doing there? Let me explain. At the time of Izuku's death, his mind did not die in itself, but it was sent to a dimension similar to the mirror dimension shown in Doctor Strange, only the difference is that this dimension was rather located in limbo. I mean, those who had to decide if Izuku was going to heaven or hell. I leave this as it is, since everyone will have their beliefs and can imagine it as they want, decided to leave him in a kind of limbo, so that later, it could be decided what to do with him. But Whis, the helper of the destroyer god, realized that Izuku's spirit was stranded and became curious to know what he was doing there, also because the destroyer god was sleeping, so he did not have to worry at the moment. Whis, he asked me who you are and what you're doing here. Whis, with the help of his scepter, saw the young man's life, and the angel felt upset by how he was treated, and both he and the deities in charge of the otherworld agreed that he did not deserve this, so Whis offered to give him a new body like he had in his previous life, and would train him to give him another chance, in which he can do what he always wanted: save people with a smile. Whis would proceed to take the soul to a place where time did not flow the same way as anywhere else, where he would give him a new body so he could live, but because of this, he had to wait 3 days for the soul to adapt to the body, and for it to wake up, so he could train it to achieve its goal. After 3 days, Izuku would be waking up in his new body, somewhat confused since he believed he had died, but when he saw the place where he was, he would have become somewhat nervous since he did not recognize the place until he saw Whis in front of him, which would cause him to get scared and step back, making Whis laugh at Izuku's attitude. Whis, Jojo, you should calm down. With a calm smile, allow me to introduce myself. I am Whis, the guardian angel of the destructive god of Universe 7. Izuku would initially be calm and then nervous about who he was with. Whis, I know what your name is, Izuku Midoriya. I also know what you've been through. This would surprise Izuku since he didn't expect that, but it also made him sad since he would remember everything he suffered and how he died. Izuku. Mr. Whis, did I really die? Whis. Hi, both the gods in charge of sending you to paradise and I agreed that you didn't deserve to die that way, so we decided to give you another chance. I gave you a new body, and now you could say that you're alive again. Izuku. Why did they give me a second chance? Whis. Because of everything you lived and your dream. From here Izuku was starting to shed some tears. You have everything you need to. Izuku was already kneeling and crying, but with happiness for hearing those words he always wanted to hear, be a hero. Because of this, I decided to train you to be able to learn and master some powers, so that you can achieve your dream and show that hard work surpasses natural talent. In another dimension, a young man with bowl-cut hair and green spandex felt proud that someone followed his philosophy. Izuku. How are you going to teach me those powers if I... Whis. For these powers that I will teach you, I will need the help of my sisters Kus and Vados, and my brothers Sour, Iwamo and Majito, since they will help me with some techniques, and also that you are not ignorant and are smart enough so that they do not surprise you easily. Izuku. And of all of you, who is stronger? Whis. It depends on the concept of strength since we are all better in some specific aspect. An example is that Sour prefers to see the intellectual side of things, and Iwamo with his intelligence can feel everything around him. Even though they are both very smart, each one uses it in a different way to best use it for their situations. Izuku. I understand. When would the training start? Whis. I'll let you know. I must ask our father Shinken for permission first, and when he gives me permission, I'll also ask my brothers and wait to see if they accept or not. Izuku. I would like to meet your brothers if they all behave the same as you. I would be very happy to meet them. He would say this with a smile which would make Whis smile too, seeing the young man smile genuinely. After this, Whis went in the direction of Shinken's palace to ask for permission, and after explaining the green-haired boy situation and asking for permission for him and his previously mentioned brothers to be able to train the young man, Shinken would have thought about it a little, but in the end he would decide to accept and gave Whis permission to look for whoever or whatever is necessary to be able to train him. Whis, being very happy, would thank him and would withdraw in search of his brothers, starting with Ford's. Universe 6. Whis. Sister. How have you been? Vados. Brother. I've been fine, thank you. What are you doing here? And why don't you come with your destructive god? Whis. I came to ask you a favor and Mr. Beerus is taking his nap. Vados. What is that favor? Whis. There is a mortal named Izuku Midoriya who suffered throughout his life and died in a way he didn't deserve. Vados. That shouldn't matter to you or me. Whis. I care because it was decided to give him a second chance and I offered to train him so he can realize his dream and I came to ask you for help. Vados. What you want? Whis. Let me explain everything to you. So Whis told him how he realized Izuku's presence, Izuku's entire life, how he offered to train him, how he asked Shinken for permission and he accepted. After Whis told everything, Vados would be quite surprised by everything Izuku lived and also sad, but she didn't show this, so that in the end, she ended up accepting and warning Champa what she would do, and the latter would have given her permission after hearing that Shinken agreed with this. And after this the two would go to Universe 10 in search of Kus, repeating the same procedure as with Vados, only that she agreed more easily and also cried after hearing Izuku's story since of all the angels, she was the most sentimental of all, and if successively, with all the other angels mentioned above. Each one was easier to convince since each time they went with more angels who assured that it was a good idea and even more having Kus on their side since it was quite difficult to say no to him. Iwamo. Why did you choose us specifically and not take him to father? Whis. Because in each of your universes there are techniques that others don't have and it's easier for you to teach them. Besides, each one specializes in something and with that we can teach them what's necessary so they can achieve it also. I think it would be too much to take them to father. Kus. It's too much. 6 angels. Vados. You would have started first and little by little we. Whis. No, because I don't know as many techniques from my universe as you do from yours. Sour. It was the best decision you could have made. Majito. I would also recommend that we bring some inhabitants of our universes since, as in your case, Whis, there are techniques and powers that we do not know and they could teach them to Izuku. Whis. That's a good idea. How about each of you take your time finding someone who wants to teach you and who has a useful but not deadly power or ability. All. Perfect. Whis. Do you want us to meet at the same time or will each of us arrive after the other? Iwamo. I would say that as we find the mortal or mortals who want to help us. Sour. In that case, we'll see each other when we have the mortals. All. Hi. After this, Whis would retreat to his universe looking for someone who could help him train Izuku. This search lasted 4 days. In these 4 days, Izuku realized that he didn't feel hunger or thirst, nor did he feel sleepy, which made him understand that time, and his own organism didn't work the same in that place. He decided to distract himself by exercising a little while he arrived. On the 4th day, Whis would arrive with 2 subjects, one with 4 white wings and with well-defined muscles, quite tall with a breastplate and golden boots, with the image of a sun in the center of his breastplate, brown pants, and a kind of white cloth tied to his waist, and in his eyes, you could see a strange symbol from his point of view. And the other was a man with very large muscles. He wore somewhat tight green pants, brown shoes, a belt with a buckle in the shape of a sun. His torso was naked, and because of this, he could see that on his back, he had a tattoo of a red lion, and on his right shoulder, he was carrying a large golden axe, which had a design similar to a maiden or something similar. Also having 2 extra peaks both above and on the opposite side of the edge of the same axe, and on its handle, he had a protection of spiked fingers. Whis. I'm back, Izuku-san. Izuku. Hello Mr. Whis, excuse me, could you tell me who they are? Whis. True, allow me to introduce you to the one with the 4 wings is male. On his planet he is known as the strongest archangel and first bearer of the power known as Sunshine, and the one with the golden axe is Escanor. He comes from the same planet as male and is considered the strongest human of all, since he is currently the bearer of Sunshine. Male. Nice to meet you, kid. Escanor. Please tell me Escanor-sama boy. Izuku. Nice to meet you male-san and Escanor-sama. Escanor. I'm starting to like the guy. Male. What we came for Izuku. Izuku. Yes. Male. We accepted your coming not only because of your dark past and your dream, but knowing that you have such a pure soul, we would like you to be the next to carry the sunshine. Izuku. How would they do that? Escanor. Sunshine can be given to anyone if both people agree to it first. We need to know if you're okay with it, so we can train you in how to use and control sunshine, so the same thing doesn't happen to you as happened to me. Izuku. What do you mean? Male. Escanor was never trained to control and master the sunshine, which is why his body couldn't resist it, and every time he used the sunshine, it took time away from his life. Whis gave him a chance to train you in the use and handling of the sunshine alongside me, so that we can rest in peace, knowing that the sunshine is in good hands. Izuku. Then I won't let that opportunity be in vain. When do we start? He would say this with a confident and partly defiant smile. Escanor. I like the boy's spirit. Male. In that case, both Escanor and I grant you sunshine. In that you would see how 2 brightnesses came out of the body of both carriers of the sunshine and would enter the body of Izuku. Shortly after having received the sunshine, the body of Izuku would have begun to grow both in height and in musculature. His voice would become much deeper and his pride would be in the heavens. On the other hand, Escanor would have returned to his thin form, dropping the Rita axe next to him. Izuku. I feel invincible. Clearly he would say it with great pride and arrogance, making Male and Escanor sigh because they already expected that, Male launching himself to attack Izuku, who defended himself as he could, since not knowing what Sunshine was doing, he would end up losing, making him not so proud, giving them the opportunity to train him without any problem. Also Whis had joined the training, teaching Izuku the ability to absorb the heat of objects and people. Don't worry, the next chapter will be explaining in more detail the powers and abilities that Izuku will have. After 4 months in that place, but from what is seen 1 day and a half outside of that place since Izuku's training began, Vegito would be seen arriving, a white alien with green eyes, a kind of backpack which was attached to his back, and from it came something similar to cables which were attached to a kind of headphones that were apparently attached to the place where his ears go. Short stature. 2 holes in his green arms and a kind of connectors or something similar in his feet, and it was seen that he had a very large mouth and its interior was green. Ignore the Omnitrix. Vegito. We have arrived. Whis. Brother, how have you been? Vegito. Pretty good, but why are you asking me? It's only been 5.5 days since we last saw each other. Whis. Wow, time passes differently in here than out there. In here it felt like about 4 months. Vegito. Wow, I didn't think there was that much difference. Whis. Leaving that aside, who is your companion? Vegito. True, why don't you introduce yourself? Iko. Of course I introduce myself, Mr. Whis. I come from the planet Sonorosian, and my race is Sonorosian. Please call me Iko. Whis. Nice to meet you, Iko. Vegito. And where is Izuku? Whis. He's finishing his training with 2 guys I brought and about a power I taught him. Vegito. And what are those powers? Whis. Those guys taught him a very interesting power called Sunshine, and I taught him the power to absorb heat from objects and people. Vegito. Wow, if he's already mastered those 2 powers in just 4 months, then he'll be able to pass the Echo test faster than we thought. After that they would wait 15 minutes until Izuku and Mail finished, and both Escanor and Mail finished the training. Mail. Mr. Whis. Escanor and I are ready to return, we have nothing more to teach Izuku. Whis. Okay. After saying that, Mail and Escanor would begin to fade away, giving them enough time to say goodbye to Izuku and Escanor, to give it to Rita, so that they would then fade away with a smile on their faces. Whis. Izuku arrived, Megito and his companion. Izuku. Of course. After a few moments they would arrive with a Megito which was waiting next to Iko. Izuku, nice to meet you Mr. Megito, and you are? Echo. Please call me Echo. Izuku. Nice to meet you Iko, and what are you going to teach me? Iko. I can't really teach you what I do since it's typical of my race, but I'm going to adapt your body so you can control me. Izuku. Control yourself. Echo. You see, those of my kind live in a container suit since our interior is literally sonic waves, so we will train your body so that it can withstand sonic waves and I can merge, so to speak, with you and you can do what my species does. Izuku. What is the name of your species and what does it do? Echo. My species is called Sonoerosion and we can launch very powerful sonic waves and multiply as many times as we want. In addition, each clone, despite being self-aware, follows the orders of the original. Izuku. And how will we train? Echo. Without using the powers you have previously learned, you must endure my sonic waves until they stop having an effect on you. Izuku. It will be very hard in that case. Iko. Yes, when do you want to start? Izuku. We just have to move away a little and we'll start. And so it was, he had to go through 3 months enduring the waves as much as he could until in the 3rd month he began to see that it didn't affect him as much, so it only took another 2 months to adapt perfectly, and also in those 2 months, Whis and Megito began to teach Izuku to master a natural element, with Whis being the one who taught him mastery of water and Megito starting with mastery of the wind. Iko. After these 5 months you have achieved it Izuku. Izuku. That's great. And how are you going to fuse with me? Echo. Hold my arms very tightly and let your palm be in the green holes. Izuku. Ready. Echo. And be prepared, because at first you'll feel your organs vibrating very frantically, but little by little you'll get used to it. Izuku. I assume that if my body wasn't prepared, my organs wouldn't be able to handle it and I would die. Echo. Exactly. Izuku. Sigh, I'm ready. Then you would see how Izuku's hands would light up green, and soon after Izuku would begin to feel great pain and little by little, the green color of Echo would begin to fade and his suit to fall, as if there was nothing to keep him in that form, until Echo's light disappeared and his suit fell to the floor, and the light that was in Izuku's hands began to spread throughout his body until it stopped, and the light gradually faded until Izuku got used to it. So that later he would try launching sonic waves from his mouth, realizing that they were just as powerful as Echo's, and then he would try to multiply himself achieving it and coming together again to try to launch sound waves from his hands achieving it, but as a result his hands would hurt, now giving himself the task of mastering the control of the wind and the power to launch sound waves from his hands and feet. I spent 1 week inside the place where Izuku managed to launch sound waves from his hands and feet and improve his control of the wind, but not enough to Megito's words. Just at that moment Kus would arrive with a young man in a purple suit with black sleeves and pants with grey gloves and belt and purple tennis shoes with grey sides and tongue and black sole, but what caught Izuku's attention the most was his green skin. Kus. Brother, I'm back. Wish. Sister. Megito. It's a pleasure to see you, sister. Kus. Wow, you beat me to it, Megito. Megito. How long has it been out there since we separated? Kus. 1 week and 2 days. Whis. 9 months have passed since I arrived. Megito. And since I arrived 5 months. Kus. Wow, and what has Izuku been learning? Whis. With my companions, he learned a power called Sunshine. Megito. And with my companion the power to launch sonic waves and multiply. Kus. Wow, and you taught him something? Whis. I taught him the ability to absorb heat from objects and people and control water. Megito. And I have wind control, although we are still perfecting it. Kus. Okay, then I will teach him the control of the light element. Whis. Okay, but tell me, aren't you going to introduce us to your companion? Kus. True. Sorry, I forgot, he is Beast Boy. He was born different, unlike his family and friends. He was born with green skin, pointy ears, and the ability to transform into any animal he wants. Since he comes from a similar planet to the one he comes from, I thought it would be a good idea to bring him. Beast Boy. It's a pleasure to meet you, and tell me, where is that Izuku? Whis. Why so much interest in meeting him? Beast Boy. I want to give him my powers. Megito. What do you mean? Beast Boy. I want to have a quiet life and I can't if I have these powers my appearance won't be affected, nor has Miss Cuss told me that I could grant him my powers, so I would like to be able to instruct him in the use of my powers and give him a suit similar to mine so that after transforming he doesn't lose his clothes or anything like that. Whis. And by chance, do you not have or do you not know the composition of your suit to create more casual clothes? Beast Boy. Sure, just let me give him my suit and then I'll tell you, okay? Whis. If that makes you feel more comfortable I have no problem. Beast Boy. Thanks. Now where is Izuku? After that, the angels would take Beast Boy to Izuku, who was still practicing his wind control until he saw the angels approaching along with Beast Boy. Izuku. Hello Mr. Whis. Hello Mr. Megiddo. Who are they? Cuss. Nice to meet you Izuku, my name is Cuss, I am the guardian angel of the destructive god of Universe 11, and the one at my side is Beast Boy, he is going to instruct you to control your powers. Beast Boy. Hello Izuku. Izuku. Hello Beast Boy, but how is this about instructing me to use your powers? Are you going to give me your powers? Beast Boy. That's right, Cuss told me that he could make me lose my powers and in exchange you would have my powers. Izuku. Are you sure about that? Beast Boy. Yes, I want a normal life and I can't do it with my power, so I ask you have my power, you'll miss me more than I do. Izuku. If you're the one offering it to me I can't refuse. After saying that, Cuss, with the help of his scepter, would take out a green light from Beast Boy's body, transferring it to Izuku, who for a moment would have shown a dark green color, and then that brightness would disappear, revealing Izuku, who, for obvious reasons, had not changed at all. Beast Boy. Before we start training, put on this suit. Remember it's just the costume, the fur and tail are not included. Izuku. Why do you want me to do it? Beast Boy. Because if not, when you transform into a person again you will appear without clothes. Izuku. And I'll have to wear this all the time. Beast Boy. Don't worry about that, in a while I'll tell Whis the composition of those clothes so he can make you more, but make them look like casual clothes. Izuku. Okay. Cuss. By the way. Izuku. What's up Miss Cuss? Cuss. First just tell me Cuss and second I will teach you how to control the light element. Izuku. Well, let's start right away because I still need to perfect the earth element and master my new powers. After that, Whis would have left for Earth to see if Bulma could make him a lot of casual style clothes for Izuku, showing him what Izuku looked like and his measurements. On the other hand, with Izuku it took only 1 month to master Beast Boy's powers, which is why Megiddo would offer to take him to his home planet since Izuku already mastered the wind element. It was not very necessary for him to stay there, and Cuss would have dedicated himself to training him in the control of the light element, and they had become very close since they got along great. Tell me if you want Cuss to be with Izuku. Margarita and Vados do not count, since that would be very cliché, and after 3 more months, he would have managed to master the light element and in the process. Whis would have returned with the green-haired man's clothes in a capsule, along with a bag with infinite hermit seeds, courtesy of Bulma and Megiddo, along with Sour and a black-haired boy with a mask, similar to a gas mask with a smile design. Dark, an eye patch covering his right eye, a black military-style vest, a long-sleeved black shirt underneath, and black military pants and boots. Cuss. Wow, they're here. Whis. That's right. Sour. They already explained to me about time, so let's move on to the important thing. The one next to me is Kaneki. Whis and Cuss. Nice to meet you Kaneki. Kaneki. The pleasure is mine. Now where is Izuku? Whis. Are you going to give him your powers? Kaneki. Like. Cuss. There are already 3 powers that they grant him, so. Kaneki. I see, whatever, where is it? Whis. It's over here, follow me. After Whis guided Sour and Kaneki along with Izuku, he would be somewhat intimidated by Kaneki's appearance, but he would not show it. Sour. To introduce ourselves more quickly and make the most of this time, I am Sour, an angel as you may have noticed, and he is Kaneki, and he will give you his power and teach you how to master it, and I will make some small adjustments so that you don't have the same problems as him. Izuku. What do you mean by Kaneki's problems? Kaneki. My powers come with a huge drawback, and that is that I can't eat regular food because it tastes disgusting to me. The only thing I can consume is coffee. Izuku. Just that. Kaneki. To feed you, it would have to be human flesh, since it's the only thing your stomach would tolerate other than coffee. Izuku. Is that what I would modify? Sour. Kaneki. Yes. Izuku. Let's do it already, I want to know how your power works. After saying that, Sour would take out a black and red sphere from Kaneki, introducing it into Izuku, and at the same time the same color of the sphere would begin to change, giving it a purple color, implying that he managed to modify the power. Sour. Ready now, you should have Kaneki's power and not have his disadvantage. Izuku. Thank you very much. Kaneki. Now let's get to work. Sour. I'm also going to teach you Izuku Earth Control, so I hope you try hard because this won't be easy. Izuku. And who said it was easy? On this occasion it took 4 months for Izuku to master Kaneki's power without giving in to his ghoul instincts and 1 more month to master earthbending. Kaneki was also taken to his planet by Whis, and before Whis arrived, they would have arrived along with a 2.50 meter tall man. Don't kill me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember how tall he was, with white skin, no face and wearing a formal suit. Cuss. Sister, you arrived. Vados. Hello Cuss and Whis. Cuss. Went to take a guy named Kaneki to his planet. Megiddo. Hello sister, excuse me, but who is he? Vados. Hello Megiddo, hello Sour, this is Slenderman. It took me a long time to find him and convince him, but in the end I managed to get him to come. Cuss. Slenderman, are you going to give Izuku your powers? Slenderman. That's right, since it's impossible to show them to him, it would be a good idea to give them to him. Besides, there are many like me where I come from. Vados. Okay, where is Izuku? And what powers have you all taught him? Megiddo. Whis' mortals taught him a power called Sunshine, and Whis taught him the power to absorb heat from people and objects and mastery of water. My mortal taught him to launch sonic waves and multiply, and I taught him wind manipulation. Cuss. My mortal taught him how to transform into animals that he knows, and I taught him how to manipulate the light element. Sour. My mortal taught him the power to generate a kind of tentacles and use them for his benefit, along with a slight increase in his physical abilities, and I taught him the manipulation of the earth element, along with some knowledge that he might need. Vados. Okay, take me with Izuku. After that they would go to Vados with Izuku, and just at that moment Whis would arrive telling Whis about Slenderman. Izuku. You're Miss Vados, right? Vados. How did you know? Izuku. Because Whis told me about you when I was training with him. Vados. That's great. Now he is Slenderman and you already know what will happen, so I'm telling you that I will modify his powers to prevent his appearance from passing on as well. Izuku. And what are you going to train me in? Vados. I'm into fire manipulation, and if we finish quickly and it hasn't arrived yet, what do you think about Whis, Cuss and I teaching you a technique called reality? Whis. Are you sure, sister? Vados. Of course, taking into account the powers he has, it would be good for him to have the power. Izuku. Sounds good to me. Sour. And when Awamo arrives, Megiddo, Awamo and I will teach you another power, but this one is to give powers to other people. Izuku. And? When do we start? After that question, Vados would begin to take out a completely black sphere from Slenderman, changing it in the process to one with a bit of blue, introducing it to Izuku's body, which would have grown to 1.80. Izuku. Let's start right away since I want to finish quickly. Slenderman. That's the attitude. On this occasion something strange would have happened, and it was that Kaneki's tentacles would have fused with those of Slenderman, creating new tentacles which were harder and sharper, but much more agile and faster. Due to this, the other abilities of Slenderman had been mastered in 3 months and another month in the fire element. Slenderman would have been taken by Sour to his planet, and as Awame had not yet arrived. Cuss. Vados and Whis would have taught Izuku the power known as reality, since with this he could create and do many things, but it also had limitations such as not being able to revive a person, taking 4 months to master it, and Awamo would also have finally arrived along with a guy who did not give a good feeling, and in Awamo's hands, a very rare fruit. The man she came with was dark-skinned, he had a ring per finger on both hands, fat, a green necklace and a purple one, something that appears to be pistols on his waist on the left side, and on the right a bottle of alcohol. He was wearing an unbuttoned red shirt, a black and yellow captain's jacket, green pants held up by a yellow band, a black hat with a green band and black shoes. Awamo. Hello brothers, what are you doing? Sour. Izuku's training to manipulate the power of reality ends. Awamo. And the 3 of us who give powers, right? Megiddo. Exactly, well do you need to know what powers Izuku has? Awamo. Would help me and Blackbeard. Blackbeard. That's the kid I'm going to teach how to use the Yami Yami no Mi. Awamo. That's right. Blackbeard. This will be interesting, hahaha. After a few minutes, Izuku, along with Vados, Whis and Cuss, would arrive where the other angels and Blackbeard were. Whis. Hello Awamo, who is he? Awamo. Hello brothers, this is Blackbeard. Cuss. And what is that in your hand? Blackbeard. That is the most powerful and dangerous devil fruit of all the Yami Yami no Mi. With it, you manipulate the darkness, being able to create a kind of black hole, but unlike a true black hole, the Yami Yami no Mi only does damage, but does not kill, unless the bear wants to. It also allows you to nullify the powers of other devil fruits, but it also maintains the weakness of all devil fruits, which is that in the sea you are dead weight. Izuku. And I assume that you were the one who could handle it best, right? Blackbeard. You're very clever, kid, now eat the devil fruit, I warn you, it doesn't taste good. Awamo. I will be in charge of teaching you even more things than what Sour and the Rakishiki fighting style taught you. Blackbeard. Would you teach him all of the Rakishiki? Wamo. That's right. Blackbeard. In that case, I'll teach you the 3 types of hockey that exist. Get ready, it will be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, hahaha. Izuku. When did we say it was going to be easy? This was said while he ate the devil fruit, suddenly starting a hell of training. Blackbeard did not pity Izuku and made him train very hard, both the powers of the Yami Yami no Mi and the types of hockey, managing to master both in 4 months, and the styles of the Rakishiki would master them in another 4 months since they were something very difficult to learn. When he finished training him and teaching him his techniques with the Yami Yami no Mi, Blackbeard would have been escorted by Whis to where he should be, since apparently Blackbeard was in hell and someone had to take him back. At the end of all that, Iwamo, Sour and Majito would have taught Izuku how to grant powers to other people, taking 2 months to master it since, as it was something similar to the power of reality, it would have taken much less, ending Izuku's training. But he wouldn't have stopped in general. All the angels would have retired to their respective universes except Whis and Cuss, one of whom at the request of his god still had time to relax, and the other because his god was asleep. Izuku would have decided to try to do something with Cuss, since he had realized that when he asked Cuss to stop or do something he always did it, and the same with Vados, but it was only the 2 of them, and that made him curious. Izuku? Cuss asks. Cuss. Answer. Whis is not present because he went to Earth for food. Izuku. If someone asked you to kiss them on the lips, would you give it to them? Cuss. The truth is no. Why the question? Izuku. I just want to check something. Cuss. And that's it? Izuku. Give me a kiss on the mouth. Cuss, even though he didn't want to, couldn't help but approach Izuku and kiss him on the mouth, leaving both of them impressed and not knowing what to say after they separated. Cuss. Edo, because. Izuku. Can you let me explain it to you? Cuss. Why yes. Izuku. It's just that I realized that when we were training, you, Vados, and I would do whatever I asked without hesitation or stop when I asked without protest, so I got curious if he had an ability that I never realized he had. Cuss. And what is that ability? Izuku. Since I never interacted with women and never spoke to them, I didn't know that I had the power that if I tell a woman to do something, she can't refuse my request, and therefore she blindly obeys me without protest. Cuss. Oh, that's a good thing you only asked me for that. Izuku. I would be incapable of asking you to do anything much further than a kiss. Cuss. Thank goodness you're the one who has that power. After a few hours, Whis would arrive with the food and everyone would start eating together. After 2 days, Cuss would have retired since she was called by her god, and Whis would be enjoying the food of the earth while Izuku tried to occupy the sunshine, with the Yami Yami no Mi accidentally generating a wormhole that would absorb him and transport him to another dimension, while Whis, after seeing that he could not save him, would at least close the wormhole since it would be dangerous for it to remain open. Let's see how Izuku is doing. Izuku, at the moment of falling, would fall into some garbage dumps in an alley where, upon standing up, he would be surprised at where he had fallen. Izuku. Mental note: never do that again. Upon leaving the alley, Izuku would see that he was in a similar world to the one he came from, but something felt different since it was seen that many women dominated their partners and the men were quite shy. Izuku. It's like my world, but I feel something different. Izuku would see that in a newspaper there was a news item where it would be read that the professional heroine Mount Lady had captured a villain with a quirk of making her body like that of a giant shark, and that they were also trying to help the heroine Kamui Woods. This would surprise Izuku since he remembered that the villain was a man and not a woman, and that Kamui Woods was a man. He was beginning to understand what was happening, but to make sure he went to talk to a man who was passing near the green-haired man. Izuku. Sorry, I'm new to the country and I'd like to know what the top ranking of heroes is. Subject. You will say heroines. Izuku. Who is the top 1 heroine in Japan? Subject. Is Almight the heroine and symbol of peace? Izuku. Thank you very much. With this information I would have confirmed it was his world, but only women have quirks and men don't. Izuku. This is going to be a real problem. And to Izuku's misfortune, he had powers and apparently he is the only man with powers in a world of only heroines. Izuku. It seems like the events I experienced haven't happened yet. This is good, I can prevent catastrophes from happening. I just have to find someone who believes me. Izuku would have remembered the slime villain event and knowing that he already had an idea of how to get attention. Izuku. Now let's find a place to live. Clarification of Izuku's powers and couples. Before continuing with the story, I would like to explain more in depth Izuku's powers and what are the pairings I have planned for him. Let's start with Beast Boy's power. Just like Beast Boy can transform into any existing animal, Izuku will not have green skin or pointy ears and will eat meat also. The animals he transforms into will have the natural color of the animal and not green or the color of Izuku's skin. And in the case of animals like cats or dogs that are animals that come in many colors and breeds, he will be able to decide in those animals he will decide the color of the animal. Next, Sunshine. Will be able to control the sunshine like Male along with Escanor's abilities, including the one only that Izuku will be able to activate and deactivate the sunshine whenever he wants, and he will also be able to use Rita, which was given to Izuku by Escanor, and he adapted it to summon it when he needs it. Slenderman. I leave it to power because I couldn't think of anything better. The point is that Izuku can teleport anywhere he wants to go, but to do so he must have been there before, affect electronic devices with his presence, and sprout tentacles from his back. Yami Yami no Mi, Haki, Rocky Shiki and Rakugan. Everything will be the same as how their effects are shown in One Piece and how each one is used, so there is not much explanation to give here. Ghoul. He has the same abilities as Kaneki, so there isn't much science behind this either. Dominance over females. The name says it all. He can ask or order a woman to do something, and she is forced to do it whether of her own free will or against her will. Sonic waves. Like Echo, he can launch very powerful sonic waves and multiply. When making sonic waves, his mouth and throat turn green, and in a similar way to Echo. Also, when doing this, both he and his clones will have green eyes, and his voice will sound similar to Echo when speaking. Heat absorption. To those who saw Ben 10 Alien Supremacy and didn't know, that's the power of supreme cold, but in this case, Izuku will be able to throw a fire that absorbs the heat of things from his hands and mouth, which will also benefit Sunshine, because it also works based on heat and solar energy. Reality. It can alter reality to a certain extent. It can only create some things and places like the time chamber or similar things. It's not as much as Marvel's reality gem, but at least it can create some things. Domain of the elements. Izuku can control water, earth, fire, water as an avatar, and can also move at the speed of light like Ludociel of NNT, and also occupy the power of light like the goddess clan of NNT. If powers. Izuku can give powers to any person or living being if he wishes, but in order to do so, the living being to whom he wants to grant a power must first agree, and that person or living being must also tell him the power he wants and specify if it works, because if he does not, the side effects will be completely random. Couples. The pairings I have planned for Izuku would be the following. This is already an update of the mini harem, and I'm going to remove some of the ones I've posted and add others that have been recommended to me, and I ask you not to add any more recommendations since I don't have a complete plan for how to do it without sounding forced, and given the direction I came up with for the story, some of them wouldn't have much of a role, so let's say so I'd rather show it with a girl's update. Pendo. Pony. Yui. Jiro. Before continuing, I clarify that I'm going to include characters from other anime. Kaneko, High School DxD. Sona, High School DxD. Hus, DPS. Himari, Amamori Himari. Zambina, Monster Musume. Minako, Monster Musume. For the moment it would be all of them. If you want someone else, put it here and I will consider how to include it, and if it is convenient to include it as a couple or in this is no longer valid, the harem is done. Without further ado, I say goodbye. Bye. New World and Debut. After Izuku discovered where he was, he would have gone to a place where there was a large piece of land which he could occupy. Unfortunately for him, while he was looking for the place, he realized that the incident with the slime villain was about to happen, so he decided to create a suit with a mask to avoid attracting more attention than he was already going to do by being the next suit. The first person to tell me whose outfit it is, I'll say hello in the next chapter. I clarify that he created the suit while he was in an alley, and once he was dressed he went to the place where the attack on the rooftops would occur to avoid attracting too much attention. Once he arrived, he realized that the professional heroines were just arriving and they didn't know what to do until Izuku Femme, started to try to save Kitsumi, who was obviously having a really bad time. Just before Almight got in, Izuku arrived, pulling Izumi away quickly before the mud villain could catch her. Izuku would have occupied his tentacles coming out of his back, grabbing Kitsumi and pulling her away from the villain, making her angry. Villain. Damn you. How dare you. Izuku. With a voice distorted by his mask, who are you calling a damn thing? I am a man. To then remove the mouth part of his mask to proceed to occupy its sonic waves, quickly finishing off the villain and grabbing a plastic bottle, where he would lock the villain in to proceed to throw the bottle at a heroine nearby. Hamui Woods. Who are you? Are you a vigilante? Izuku. What part of me not understanding that I'm a man? Mount Lady. That's impossible, men are just useless quirkless people who only serve to keep humanity from becoming extinct. Izuku. beings like you make me sick. Understand that even though men don't have a quirk, they can be good at other things, and I'm going to show that men can do more than you women think." After saying that, Izuku would quickly retreat using his great speed, causing a flash of light which was extinguished after a few seconds. Izuku would have stopped after a few minutes being on top of a building somewhat far away, where he would proceed to go down to an uncrowded alley, where he would take off his suit and store it in a mini pocket dimension, and create a briefcase with a lot of money, to be able to buy a place to live, finding after a while a large vacant lot which he bought, and making sure that no one saw him, he used his powers to create a house there with a fairly large patio, also altering the limits, making them balls already more adapted for a house with barbed wire on top and a large metal door for vehicles and people. If anyone knows the YouTuber MAKIMAN131 pretend that Izuku made a house like his. After having done all that, Izuku proceeded to go inside to buy food, since it was obvious that he didn't have any. While this was happening with Izuku, Whis would have told what happened to Awamo, Kus and Vados, asking them for help to search where Izuku had gone to see if they could bring him back. Awamo refused because his destroyer god needed him and he had to go with him. Vados told him that when he fell asleep Champa would go with him, and Ka said that his destroyer god gave him a well-deserved vacation, so he could help him from now on. I clarify that from Izuku's incident with the wormhole to Los Angeles one Earth month passed. After Vados and Awamo returned to their respective universes, Whis took the opportunity to interrogate Kus. Whis. Why? Kus. Why what? Whis. It's weird that you're interested in the safety of someone who isn't from your universe. Kus. Somewhat blushed and nervous, I don't know what you're talking about. Whis. Don't tell me you fell in love with him, with his mocking, sissy tone. I'm not racist, I'm just telling the truth. Kus would have blushed a lot now and even started to smoke out of his head. Whis. I was joking, but I see it's true. Kus. Don't tell anyone please, he said this with puppy dog eyes. Whis. I won't say anything, but you should tell Rumush-sama. Kus. I know, I just don't know how to tell him. Whis. Tell him you fell in love with Izuku. I'll be with you for any possible scenario that might occur. Kus. Thanks, little brother, giving him a big hug. After that, Kus and Whis would go to Universe 11, where after a few moments Rumush and Gowas would arrive, seeing Kus somewhat nervous and Whis, who apparently calmed Kus down. Gowas. What a great surprise, how have you been, Whis? Whis. Well, thanks for asking, but we came because Kus wants to tell Rumush-sama something, and I think you might be interested. Rumush. And what is it that you want to tell us, Kus? Kus. First of all the questions and doubts you have, save them for when I finish telling you what I want, okay? Rumush and Gowas. Okay. Kus would have told him everything that happened since Izuku arrived, including the kiss they gave each other and telling both gods about his crush. Rumush. Everything you told me is true, Whis-san. Whis. It's all true, but I didn't know what happened about the kiss anyway. She's telling the truth. Gowas. Kus, we support you in whatever you want, don't doubt that, but you should talk about this matter with your father. We could tell you to go with him and be happy, but that is Shinken-sama's decision, not ours. Kus. I'm afraid to go ask him. Whis. Calm down, I'll ask Majito and Sour to join us, so you're not nervous or scared. Remember, you're our sister, and we'll support you in any way we can. Kus. Thank you very much, little brother, but I don't want to include them too, it's just you and me, okay? Whis. Okay. Rumush. Let me accompany you, Kus, since you are my guardian angel. It is likely that he also wants to hear our opinion, right? Gowas. That's true. Kus. Thank you so much for your support. Let's see what the broccoli with legs does. Izuku was returning from buying groceries to stop by and make something to eat and then watch a movie. When halfway through the movie he was interrupted by a knock on the outside door, I mean the one by the wall. Izuku. Who is it? Could you open the door for us please? We just want to talk to you. Izuku. Tell me who it is and I'll open the door for you later. Nezu. I am Nezu, director of UA. Izuku. Opening the door, what does the director of UA want from me? Nezu. We would like to ask you something, but first, would you let us in? Izuku. Who are they? Nezu. The one with black hair and bandages for a scarf is Izawi, and the other is Namuri. Izuku. Okay, come in and make yourselves comfortable. Once they arrived in the room they sat down and proceeded to the interrogation. Nezu. What is your name? Izuku. I'm Queely. Nezu. What? Izuku. What does he care? Namuri. More respect for us, brat. Izuku. Why? Namuri. Because we are. Izuku. No, why don't you shut up? Izawi. This is as far as you go. Izawi would try to tie him up, but Izuku would just move to the side and limit himself to just dodging Izawi's attacks until Nezu spoke. Nezu. Izawi, stop. We came to talk, not to fight. Izawa reluctantly sat back down, and Izuku didn't even give it any importance. Izuku, do you want tea? Nezu? Please. Namuri and Izawa. No thanks. Izuku would go to the kitchen to prepare the tea, and while it was ready he decided to answer Nezu's questions. Izuku. My name is Izuku, that's all you need to know for now. Nezu. Well, Izuku-san, are you new in town? Izuku. I've been here before, but after being away for a while, it's becoming a bit difficult to find my bearings again. Nezu. Okay. Izuku would be pouring tea at this moment and then giving his cup to Nezu. Izuku. Tell me exactly why you're here. Nezu. Okay, I'll be direct, are you him? At that moment I took out an image of Izuku with his suit on, obviously his face was not seen or anything. Izuku. Sooner or later it will be known who it is, so if it's me, any problem with that? Namuri. Prove it's you. Izuku. Okay, let's go outside. Offer, farewell and a cute kitten. First of all, I send a greeting and a big hug too for guessing the game where I got Izuku's outfit from, and the only suggestion they gave me about Izuku's new last name was Sun, so it's going to be that one, unless someone comes up with a better one. While they were leaving the courtyard, Nezu was thinking about what to do with him, since if it was him, then he should have him in his school to make sure that the boy goes down the right path and doesn't join All for One. Izuku. Well, we're outside now what? Namuri. If you are who you say you are, do what you did with the mud villain, with your arms crossed and a serious look. Izuku. Okay. In that, the three women would see how his eyes turn green and his mouth change to a very strange one according to them, and then they would see and hear, so to speak, the same sonic waves as with the mud villain. Izawa. So he wasn't lying. Namuri. It seems not. Izuku would return to normal. Izuku. Happy. Nezu. I do, but now I have a question. Izuku. Which would it be? Nezu. Do you have more powers than that or not? Because I remember that when you retired you left in a flash of light. Izuku. You caught me if I have more skills. Namuri. What are those abilities? Izuku. I'll just tell you the names of some of these for now and you try to guess what they do. Izawa. Why don't you tell us about it properly? Nezu. It's because he doesn't trust us, which is normal since he's only known us for 20 minutes. Izuku. I like her, pointing at Nezu, whatever the names are as follows. Sunshine, Beast Boy, Elements, Slender, Sonic Waves, Reality, Yami Yami no Mi and Hockey. Namuri. You're joking, right? Nezu. I do believe him. Izawa. Why do you believe him? Nezu. I don't see in your eyes that you're lying, besides this house wasn't here yesterday and it's impossible that it was built in just one day. Namuri. Really? Nezu. What's worse is that you came here yesterday and even forced Izawa to come here when he saw the vacant lot. Namuri and Izawa would have been embarrassed that they missed that small but important detail. Izuku. Is there anything else you want to talk to me about? Nezu. In fact, yes, you see, in 10 months there will be the entrance exams to the UA, and I would like you to enter without the need to take the exam, since I would like to surprise my students by having you enter on my recommendation. Izuku. I'll take your word for it, director, but I'd like it if you could come tomorrow to talk to you about something important that for the moment I'd like only the two of us to know. Nezu. What do you think if you go to UA tomorrow and tell me about it in my office? Izuku. As you wish, I really don't care much. Izawa. Why can't we know? Izuku. You don't trust me and I don't trust you. Namuri. True. Izuku. In that case, see you tomorrow, Director Nezu. Nezu. See you tomorrow, young Izuku. After saying goodbye and finishing their tea, they would leave peacefully as they did not want to make a scene. Let's see what happens to the Angel of Universe 10. Whis, Whis and Rumush would have arrived at Zen-Osama's palace being received by the one they wanted to see. Shinken. It is a pleasure to see you again, my children, but may I ask what you are doing here? Whis. Shinken-sama, with all due respect, we came here because Kus wanted to talk to you. Shinken. In that case, why is Whis here and without his destroyer god? Whis. That's because I came as Kus's moral support at his request, and also because Mr. Beerus has been asleep for several years. Shinken. Okay, in that case, please come in, because if Kus needs the support of one of his brothers, it's likely that Zen-Osama would be interested in hearing what you have to say. After hearing that, Kus would be more nervous, but with no other option, the four would follow Shinken until they reached the room where the Zen-Osama of the present and the future were waiting for them. Zen-Osama, P. Shinken, what are they doing here? Shinken. My daughter Kus has come to tell me something, and taking into account that she asked Whis to accompany her, it must be something important and I thought you would like to hear it. Zen-Osama, F. Now I want to hear what she wants to tell us. Zen-Osama, P. Me too. After saying that they would stare at Kus, who would be very nervous and a little blushed from everyone's stares, but Whis would put a hand on her shoulder along with a smile that told her that everything would be okay. This made her calm down, and she would begin to tell things, starting with explaining first about Izuku's life and how he began to influence her life. The Zenos, I don't know how to say it in plural, started sad and annoyed with those who bothered poor Izuku, then they went to a kind of combination of pride, happiness and sadness upon hearing Izuku's sacrifice, then to surprise about the second chance that was given to Izuku, and finally they were shocked about everything he managed to do in his training and how Kus fell in love with him and all that. The Shinken, on the other hand, was somewhat different. At first, he was the same as the Zenos until he realized how his daughter blushed every time he spoke about Izuku. He was also surprised to realize that his daughter had fallen in love with him and was practically in shock when he heard how his daughter had kissed him and what happened to Izuku when he disappeared. Zeno, P. That Izuku is very good. Zeno, F. What do you think, Shinken? The Shinken. I was actually quite surprised by all of this, and even though I'm not in favor of them associating with mortals in this way, I think it would be best if you went with him. Kus. Really? With hope and happiness shining in his eyes. Zeno, P. Go with him, your position can be taken by Surge. Zeno, F. As I recall, he wanted to be a guardian angel for a long time, isn't that right, Shinken? The Shinken. Very true also, Surge likes Gowas. Kus. Great. Thank you so much, father. Running forward to hug him, who would gladly receive her. Zeno, F. If you want, we can take you to where it is. Zeno, P. From what you told us, you don't know where both Zenos. And we want you to be happy. Bermush. So we retreat to wait for our new guardian angel. Gowas. But we would like you to allow us to say goodbye to her alone. The Shinken. Of course, let's go outside to find where that mortal is, and in the meantime you can say your goodbyes. Once the three had left, Whis would have said that he would better go help the Shinken and the Zenos, since he wanted to give them some privacy for their farewell. Bermush. Kus, you've been a great companion, teacher, and guardian angel, but you've been the best friend I could have asked for. Gowas. Rumush-sama is right, you've been very special to us, and we're glad you found happiness. Rumush. When you told us about that mortal, we were surprised, but also happy to know what you found. Gowas. We'll always want the best for you, so all we can say is. Both. Have a good trip and be very happy with it. Kus, faced with these words, couldn't help but shed a few tears of happiness and sadness. On one hand, he was happy to be able to follow Izuku and sad to have to say goodbye to those two with whom he had spent thousands of years, ending by giving them both a big hug. While this was happening with Kus, let's see what Broccoli Hair does. Izuku had decided to make some dinner since several hours had passed since Nezu and the others arrived and he started to get hungry, so he decided to make some katsudon, but before it was served, he could see from his window a white kitten who looked very skinny, watching with great hunger the food he was preparing. Sorry for the quality, but it was the only one I found. Izuku, seeing the state the poor girl was in, decided to go out to where she was. She didn't move from her place because she expected to be given food. Instead, Izuku decided to carry her and bring her into the house. The kitten did not resist because she did not have enough strength to resist, so she decided to see where he took her. Izuku would leave the kitten on top of a blanket that he put on the floor so that she wouldn't feel cold, and after a few seconds he would put in front of her a plate, one for pets, with water, and one with a little shredded meat that he had left for her to eat. The kitten on her side for a moment looked at that food with distrust, but hunger ended up winning and devoured everything. When she finished everything with some sadness, but still hungry, she took her plate to Izuku, who upon seeing her, decided to give her more food, and after Izuku finished dinner, he would stay in his chair next to the kitten stroking her head while the kitten purred and snuggled up. Izuku. Mmmmm, he asked me if you have a name. Nah, I'll take care of that tomorrow. Do you want to come to bed with me to sleep? The kitten only licked his hand a little and followed Izuku to the bed where they both lay down and ended up sleeping. The next day Izuku would wake up from his relaxing dream, but he would feel that there was an extra weight on his torso, and when he turned to see Izuku. What the buck? Getting to know this new world and reuniting. I clarify that the song above has nothing to do with the cap, I only put it because I like it XD, and I warn you that I will leave Izawa's name, as is due to two things. 1. His name already seems like a woman's, and 2. Because of a comment I read in which it is true and I was an idiot changing his last name XD. Well then let's start with this shit. After what happened in the last chapter, we find Izuku just waking up with an extra weight on his body. At first, he thought it was the kitten he found last night and who slept with him in the same bed. There was just one tiny problem. Izuku. What the buck? That problem was the following. 1. The weight was much greater than that of an average cat. 2. He felt two round and soft things leaning on his crotch. Bree. There was a girl with white cat ears and tail sleeping peacefully on his abdomen, dirty-minded people. After Izuku screamed, he realized that the girl was moving, just realizing that she was naked, and Izuku asked himself several questions in his head. Izuku. Thinking, who is she? Why is she naked? How did she get in? And most importantly, what will I eat today? After asking himself those questions, he would realize that the girl had fully woken up and was staring at him. This would make Izuku a little nervous since he was not at all used to having a girl in this situation. Izuku. Oh hello, who are you? Nice to meet you, I'm Himari. She said this with a smile and standing up. Izuku. Turning to look away while blushing a little, first nice to meet you Himari, I'm Izuku-san, and second put on at least one of my shirts and shorts or whatever you like but cover up. Himari didn't understand well from the beginning, but later she realized she was naked and quickly covered herself and quickly got into the closet, locking herself in there. Izuku. Standing up and knocking on the closet door, just grab something to cover yourself and get out of there please, I have to change too. After a few minutes, Himari would come out wearing a white shirt and some blue shorts. Both clothes were a bit big on her, but at least she could cover herself this way. Himari. That's it. Izuku. Okay, can you wait downstairs? Himari. Claro. After that Izuku would change into something like that. Only without the gloves and with black sneakers. How are you? Once changed, he went down the stairs to find a Himari watching television, specifically a news story where a school that recently became mixed was seen being somewhat destroyed and being repaired by some people with bat wings and a group of 6 girls, the most notable being a redhead and a black-haired girl with a big ponytail. Newscast. Here we are watching how the Gremory group emerged victorious from another fight. Okay, we have just received new information, in which apparently a very powerful fallen angel fought against the Gremory clan being saved by the Citri group. Currently the academy is being rebuilt with the help of the hero Cementus and some demons. We are still waiting to know the name of the person responsible. Himari. Lately that academy has been attacked a lot. Well, it's normal considering there are 2 important clans of demons there. Izuku on the other hand was between scared, impressed and curious, since this world was similar to his, but it was not exactly the same apparently. He put his doubts aside and decided to ask Himari what she wanted for breakfast and interrogate her a little since he was going to strongly interrogate Nezu in exchange for telling what he knows. Izuku. Hey Himari, she turns to look at him, what do you want for breakfast? Himari. I hope it's not a bother, but I'd like something with fish. Izuku. Do you think they are niggerous? Himari. With stars in her eyes, yes. Izuku. I'll be back in a few minutes. For those wondering, this is what niggerous are like. After a while, Izuku would arrive with 2 trays of nigiri and they would both sit down to eat. After a few minutes they would finish eating and Izuku would see that it was 11 in the morning. Izuku. Oi Himari. Himari. Mmm. Izuku. You don't know what time the UA will open. Himari. It's open from 7 AM. Why are you interested? Izuku. I have to go talk to the director about a very important matter. Himari. Can I accompany you? Izuku. First, let's buy you some clothes and then we'll talk about it. Himari. I can go like the kitten you saw yesterday and when I get there I just put on my clothes and that's it. Izuku. Bunu and Avamos. After that, Himari would transform into the white kitten, letting herself be carried in Izuku's arms. Once everything was ready, he would head to a shopping center where he would be very embarrassed looking for underwear and a dress for Himari, who would tell him which ones she liked and which ones she didn't. In the end, after choosing for a while, they ended up choosing a very pretty dress for Himari. This being the one that in Izuku's eyes was very revealing, but it looked very good on him. After paying they headed to Izuku's house where once inside Izuku would start crying comically and feeling very stupid. Himari. Watching with a drop of an I'm-style sweat, why are you like this? Izuku. It's just that I forgot I could make clothes for you. Himari. Tell me you're joking. Izuku. I created this house. Himari. I already said that this house wasn't like you created the house. Izuku. Apparently I'm the only man with a quirk haha. Himari. I would tell you to try it, but this house wasn't here 3 days ago, so I'll believe you just for that. Wait, are you going to talk to the director of the UA about that? Izuku. Let's say yes and no, when we go there you'll understand. Himari. Okay, can we go at once? Izuku. Sure. After a few minutes of walking, because the school was close, they would arrive at the school where at first they did not want to let him pass, but in the end Aizawa would arrive and would say that they should let him pass because the principal summoned him yesterday. After thanking Aizawa, Izuku decided to go to the principal's office with Himari, being followed by Aizawa, believing that he did not know the place, so that in the end, he would find the address very easily. Knock knock knock, really cool effects XD. Nezu. Pace. After saying that I would see how Izuku entered with a Nekomata, he knows this because Himari doesn't hide her ears and tail, and Izawa. Nezu. Young son, nice to see you. Who is she? Pointing at Himari. Himari. Mucho gusto, soy Himari Nahara. Nezu. Nice to meet you, I'm Nezu, the director of UA. Could you leave us alone, Izawa? Izawa. It's okay. And would retreat to the teacher's room where her yellow sleeping bag was. Nezu. Very well, is she aware of this? Referring to Himari. Izuku. He's just like you. Nezu. Yavio. Izuku. Before I start my story, can I ask you something? Nezu. Iso Syria. Izuku. After telling him my story, he could answer some questions. Nezu. I will gladly answer them. Izuku. Okay, well, you see. Izuku would be telling them about when he was little and the abuse from Katsuki and surprising both of them that where he comes from both men and women have a quirk. He told them how his life was in elementary, high school, until he reached UA, where both were surprised that he entered the support course without a quirk, telling them how some made his life impossible and how others even defended him and became friends with him. Then he explained what happened in the USJ with those of 1A. About the festival where he reached the first stage of the fights being defeated by Shinso. He also told them what happened with the hero in Genie and how his brother almost died by Stain and how he was rescued by Endeavor. That was the story that was given to everyone except those involved. Then what happened at the Hussy Cats camp, since this one was but to analyze their abilities and propose possible improvements to their suits. How he managed to save Kota from Muscular by making him follow him to the camp where he entered Tetsutetsu, and Kirishima would defeat him with a little help from Tiger and Izawa, and finally the battle between All for One and Almight, where he went because some of Class 1A asked him for help to go rescue Bakugo because he had managed to put a tracker on Spiner's sword and Momo, which hid the location of the Nomu, so that in the end it ended with the death of Izuku. At this point the two girls were between furious, surprised, sad and doubtful. Nezu. Wait, if you died, how come you're here? Izuku. That's what follows my story. Himari. Do you also explain your quirk? Izuku. Yes. Now he would tell you about when he met Whis, when he began training with Escanor and Mail, when he met Whis's brothers and the subjects they brought with them to train him and give him his powers, and explaining everything he did during his training, also how he realized his power from birth. Nezu. Wait, your birth power is to command women. Izuku. From what I know, yes, I just don't know how to activate or deactivate it or how to control it. Himari. So you can use it without realizing it? Izuku. Exactly. Nezu. That would be dangerous in the hands of a villain. Izuku. At least be grateful that I'm one of the good ones. Nezu. That's it. Then he explained how he got there and the reason why he already knew where to go and that those heroines weren't going to do anything except someone without a quirk, only this time he doesn't know if he changed the story or what. Izuku. And now we are here. Nezu. It's an incredible story. Izuku. Now the questions. Nezu. Go ahead. Izuku. As I heard in my story, several things that are currently happening here did not happen in my world. Nezu. Are you referring to the factions and the other species? Izuku. First, what is that about the other species? Nezu. About 15 years ago, beings like Lamias, centaurs, mermaids, and even Nekomatas and Kitsunes began to appear. Izuku. Are you one of those species? Himari. I am a hybrid since we started to appear 5 years past, where a peace pact was made and an interspecies agreement was made where a human had to take care of one of us, be it a Lamia, centaur, mermaid or even slime. These people were considered host families and the interspecies could not leave without their host family. Also within the agreement it said that interspecies cannot harm humans and vice versa. Izuku. Okay, so what happened? Nezu. That agreement lasted about 7 years until finally interspecies and humans could live in peace without any problems, and currently those rules no longer apply and were changed for more civilized ones. Izuku. Okay, now what is this about factions? Nezu. That was more complicated, but what happened is that one day a person with white wings was fighting with a person with black wings. They managed to capture both and said that there were factions which were angels, fallen angels, demons, dragons, Nordic, Egyptians, Greeks, Hindus and yokai. At that moment humanity began to look for the factions, and one day out of nowhere, the factions showed their representatives saying that they did not want to harm humanity, but to protect it from beings related to them, such as renegade demons and other things. Izuku. And nobody believed them. Nezu. Exactly, at the beginning they were really discriminated against, even more than the interspecies. In the end up being called Trixa, correct me if I wrote that wrong, was very powerful. It took the help of the heroine number 1 and the Mau to seal him up, and in the end with it they ended up accepting both interspecies and the factions in society. Izuku. What did interspecies have to do with that? Himari. Some Nekomatas and Kitsunes were part of the factions, and some centaurs, lamias and harpies helped in the battle. Izuku. Okay, so that happened. Nezu. Yes, currently, humans have started to join with some of the factions or interspecies, and that has caused hybrids like Himari. Himari. The difference is that hybrids, in addition to the abilities of our species, can develop quirks unlike pure-blood interspecies. Izuku. Okay, that's it. Izuku would be interrupted because the heroine present Mick suddenly entered with some news. Presenti Mick. Director, there is something you need to see. Nezu. What happened? Present Mick. About 2 minutes ago a kind of portal opened in the courtyard and out of there came a girl wearing strange clothing, her skin is blue and her hair is white. Izuku. Did they call him a girl to his face? Present Mick. No, no one has told her anything, we just surround her in case she wants to attack. Nezu. Do you know her, young Izuku? Izuku. Yes, it's Cus, let's go with her. Present Mick was shocked that he knew her and nervous about not knowing what he planned to do with her. After a few minutes they would arrive at the courtyard where there were several heroines trying to intimidate her, failing miserably until Izuku arrived. Our loader. Tell us who you are. Cus. You don't care about that, she would say this while being quite calm with her staff in her hand and the other hand behind her back. Nezu. Everyone calm down. Izawa. But director. Nezu. No, but she is a friend of the young son. All, including Cus. Who's? Izuku. Appearing behind Cus, talk about my Cus. Cus upon hearing Izuku's voice would make his staff disappear and would rush to hug him, all the others except Nezu and Himari were impressed to see Cus's reaction to him, which was very different from the one he had with them. Black Queen. Hey, you're in the presence of heroines. You owe us some respect. Cus. I don't know who you are and I'm not even interested. Izuku. Did Deshinken give you permission to fight? Cus. Since I am no longer a guardian angel, I no longer have the limitations of these. Izawa. What do you mean, guardian angel? Are you from the angel faction? Cus. What about what? Izuku. Read my mind, they just explained it to me. Cus with the help of his staff would see Izuku's memories, understanding what happens in that world and all that. Cus. That faction that calls itself angels cannot compare to me and my brothers. Izawa. Your lie. Nezu. It's actually true. All the others except Himari and that pair. What? Nezu. She may look like a child, but she's much older than any of us, and I dare say she's the most powerful in the universe. Namuri. Don't you think you're exaggerating a little, director? Nezu. Not even a little. Izuku. Whatever, Himari. Come on, we have to eat again. Himari. Of course. Turning to look at Nezu, see you later, principal, turning to Izuku running. Nezu. See you later. And that Cus with his staff would teleport her along with Himari and Izuku to the latter's house, since he told her more or less where he lived and she checked it in her staff to know exactly where it was. After arriving, Izuku set about making food for the three of them and Cus took the opportunity to question Himari about why she is so attached to Izuku and all that. Cus. Don't take this the wrong way, but why are you so attached to Izuku? She said the last part with some jealousy. Himari would only tell him how she met Izuku and that was more or less the reason why she is so attached to him. Cus. From what I understand about you Nekomatas, you easily fall in love with those who rescue you from various situations, right? Himari. How do you? Cus. With my staff I can research everything about any race one want, from their history to their language and instincts. Himari. Somewhat nervous. Oh. Cus. It hasn't even been a day and you've already fallen in love with him. Himari. Don't judge me. I was about to give up and accept my death due to lack of food, and he brought me into his house and fed me and covered me and saved me from dying. Cus. Well, that would happen to anyone if they were Izuku. Himari. So you like it too, with a mischievous smile and playful tone. Cus would just blush a lot, reaching his face instead of blue-purple. Himari would only laugh, knowing not only how an angel like her blushes, but also knowing that it was true and because her reaction was funny. Cus. Don't laugh. Himari. I'm sorry, but it was a really funny reaction. Cus. Then. Himari. What if we shared? Cus. Continue. Himari. Neither you nor I are going to leave him alone and it's likely that others will become interested in him. Cus. True. Himari. So you and I can decide who is with Izuku and who isn't and we will be the main ones for Izuku. Cus. He doesn't like to have favorites, he will surely treat both and possible ones equally without benefit for either. Himari. Maybe we'll have it first. Cus. True. After that, Izuku would arrive with food for everyone and after talking for a while, the three of them would go to sleep together, ending that day. A new training and new power. After the reunion the day before, Izuku was waking up with Kus on his right and Himari on his left. Kus was sleeping in a somewhat large white shirt and dark blue shorts, and Himari was sleeping in pink panties and a white robe without a bra. Izuku was sleeping in white pants without a shirt, showing off his toned body. Being wide awake, he watched for about 3 minutes the girls who were lying next to him, thinking about how happy and lucky he was to have those two next to him, then somehow he managed to get out of their grip, causing these two to unconsciously hug each other, looking tremendously cute. Izuku decided to go down and make some nice breakfast, and while he was making breakfast for the three of them, the girls would be just waking up, or at least Himari was waking up because of some extra weight on her breasts. Himari, upon waking up, would realize that Izuku was no longer there, and in his place, Kus was lying on top of her using her breasts as pillows without her noticing. At first, Himari wanted to yell at her or wake her up so that she wouldn't be using her as a pillow anymore, but in the end she didn't do it since it really wasn't that bothersome to her, so to speak, and in the end she even ended up caressing Kus's hair as if she were a little girl. Kus, for her part, just enjoyed the caresses while she was still asleep. After about 15 minutes Izuku would be coming through the door with a rather large tray where there were 2 plates with food. Izuku. Oh, I see you're already awake, Himari. Himari. Yeah, but she doesn't. Izuku. I didn't know angels had such a deep sleep. Himari. And you think I do? Izuku would decide to leave the tray aside for the moment and would approach Kus, trying to lift it without any success. Izuku. Any ideas, Himari? Himari. I have one, let's see if it works. Himari would take a deep breath and then whisper into his ear. Himari. If you don't wake up I'll have lots of kittens with Izuku-kun. Kus would wake up just for that reason. Kus. I'm awake. Izuku. I don't want to know what you said to him, but here I am bringing you breakfast in bed. Kus and Himari would blush at his smile, but they would also decide to eat what he made for them. After a few minutes they would finish eating, go to change and go down to the living room where Kus would ask Izuku. Kus. Izuku-kun, why don't you make the house a little bigger? Izuku. I need space for that unless I extend it underground. Himari. It's better that way, no one will hear when you make us yours, in a mischievous and perverted tone. Izuku and Kus would be fuming at Himari's way of expressing herself. I forgot to mention it here, but in the conversation I summarized last chapter, the two confessed to her and ended up agreeing to share it. Izuku. I'm going to extend it downwards but not with that goal. Himari. But it can be used for that, right? Izuku would just turn to look the other way. Kus. Perverted Izuku-kun. Izuku. Better not talk because you thought the same as Himari. Kus would just turn purple because her blush is that color and look away. Izuku. Well, and what do you want to do? Himari. Honestly, I have to train. Izuku. And that? Himari. When you went out to see Kus, I asked the principal if I could enter the school like you, and she said yes, and also that she wanted her, pointing at Kus, to enter too. Kus. And why me? Himari. Because if not, you're likely to be hunted down to catch you and possibly experiment on you. Kus. 1. It's practically impossible for that to happen. 2. No one here has the necessary level to face me, and 3. I'll go in alone to spend more time with Izuku-kun. Izuku. Okay, and what are you going to train Himari in? Himari. I was planning to contact my cousin since she has been training for quite some time and could teach me something. Kus. That reminds me, Izuku-kun. Izuku. Hey. Kus. Would you like to learn a new power? Izuku. And what would it be? Kus. It is called Invocation and allows you to summon any existing or non-existent being, as long as you have its appearance in mind. Izuku. What is the advantage and disadvantage? Kus. You decide if it lasts for a certain time or until it is killed, and you can give a maximum of half of your power to each summon without it affecting you. Izuku. I mean. Kus. You can summon 5 beings with a power equivalent to your 50% each, and they will not take power from you. Izuku. I assume that to do that summoning you have to wait a certain amount of time. Kus. Aha, the more you summon, the longer it will take. Izuku. I'm interested. Himari. Why don't you train with Kus and I'll train with my cousin? Izuku. We have 10 months before entering UA, why not? That day Kus taught him how to do it, but Izuku found it difficult since he had nothing in mind to summon, and when he had it and the portal was just beginning to be created, he stopped because it was very mentally exhausting, and while Himari contacted her cousin. The next day. Kus and Izuku were on a break so Izuku wouldn't get a brain fog and they would see Himari approaching them. Izuku. Hello Himari, have you been able to contact your cousin yet? Himari. Yes, and she told me she couldn't come because she's on a mission with her companions. Izuku. Then. Himari. She told me that her sister was free and she was coming to train me, even though she's not as powerful as Kuro, she can teach me a lot of things if she comes with her entourage. Izuku. Hold on, you haven't told us the name of your cousin and her sister. Temari. Right, sorry, my cousin's name is Kuroka and her sister's name is Shirin, although according to what I know, she changed her name to Kaneko. I don't know why, but she did, and the retinue is the retinue of demons from the Gremory family. Izuku. Any family traits? Temari. She's smaller than me but has albino hair and a sour face. Cuss. So she's your cousin. When she said that, she was showing the image from outside the house to the Gremory entourage with her staff, focusing on Kaneko. Temari. Yep, it's her. Izuku. Come, let's receive them, and for the meantime. Cuss. How many rooms? Izuku. Enough for them and 15 more. Cuss. Why so many? Izuku. Believe me, we'll need them. Cuss. Anything else? Izuku. I say that with some extra training rooms it is more than enough. Cuss. Okay. After that, Cuss would begin to create the underground rooms with his staff, while Izuku and Himari approached the gate, so that when they opened it, Himari would be tackled by Kaneko, since they hadn't seen each other for a long time, and Kaneko had a great appreciation for her. Himari, still on the floor. How have you been, Kaneko-chan? While hugging her as best she can. Kaneko. I missed you so much, Hima-chan. Izuku, whispering to Rias. Is it always like this? Rias, whispering the same. No. Bakeno. By the way, who are you? At that, everyone, including Kaneko, would turn to look at Izuku, who was between nervous and surprised by the look the little Nekashu was giving him. Note. For those who don't know, there is a difference between Nekomata and Nekashu, since Nekomatas are, so to speak, incredibly rare cats or something like that, and Nekashu are beings like Himari, Kaneko, or Kuroka, and in case you're wondering, yes, I investigated it not long ago. Izuku. Nice to meet you, my name is Izuku, a pleasure to meet you, bowing in respect. Kaneko. Did you get yourself a slave, Hima-chan? Himari. Nope, he's actually the owner of the house. Asia. Really? Receives a nod from Izuku and Himari. Wow, your house is very beautiful, Sun-kun. Izuku. Please call me by my name. Asia. Okay, Izuku-san. Izuku. Before I get too embarrassed, would you be so kind as to introduce yourselves? And the whole entourage would show up. It's the same as in the original story, only Issei isn't there and Gasper is a woman. Izuku. So they are a retinue of demons, right? Rias. Indeed, we are from the Gremory house and I am their king. Izuku. Okay. Cuss. The rooms are here, Izuku. Izuku. Okay. Turning to look at them, could you come with me so I can give you a tour of the house? Zenobia. I'm hungry. Izuku. After you settle in, what do you think about eating? Receiving a nod from everyone present, they headed inside the house while Himari carried Kaneko, who hadn't let go of her. Himari. Could you let go of me, Kaneko-chan? Kaneko. Nope. Himari. Ah, sigh, so much love makes me dizzy. Kaneko. Then I'll make you even more dizzy. Suddenly Rias would grab Kaneko by the neck, separating her without any effort while leaving her in Akeno's arms. Himari. Thank you. Another note: when you grab a cat by the neck, they completely relax their body. It's supposed that when they are kittens, or whatever it's called when they are babies, this can calm them down, but when they are adults, it stresses them out. I'll just leave the information there. After that, Izuku and Cuss would show them the extra rooms they had, telling them that they could choose the one they wanted, and after settling in, they would go eat what Izuku made. Don't expect a Tales of Naruto, I mean the filling, so that after that. Cuss. Izuku, in 15 minutes we're going back to training, okay? Izuku. Of course, Cuss. Rias. What training? Izuku. It's just a new technique or power, it depends on how you look at it. Rias. What? You're just a human men don't have any powers. Izuku. I'll explain later why I have to focus on my training now. Zenobia. He's probably lying to make himself look cool, ha. Himari. He's actually telling the truth. Kaneko. What do you mean, Hima-chan? Himari. He's telling the truth, but anyway, Kaneko-chan, what are you going to train me in? Kaneko. In the use of magic and a little bit of Kai management, since I don't know much about the latter. Cuss. I can help you with that. They both turned to look at her. Cuss. I almost always use Kai, so I can teach you both the best use you can give to Kai. Himari. I trust you, Cuss. Rias. By the way, are you an angel? Cuss. I am a guardian angel. Rias. Then. Cuss. I'm not an angel, you know. Tomorrow we'll explain everything to you calmly. In the meantime, I'll train Izuku and you can talk comfortably. After that the two would retire while the girls and Kiba caught up, thus ending the day. Training time and entrance exam. Recapitulating, due to my inactivity, in the last chapter the Gremory group arrived at Izuku's house to train Himari in the use of magic and Kai, while Kus and Izuku are dedicated to training the summoning technique power. It was a new day at Izuku's house, where the Gremory entourage would be waking up deciding to go to the kitchen to prepare some breakfast and thinking that Izuku had not woken up, yet they had planned to wake him up by throwing cold water on him, but when they went up to the kitchen, I don't know if I clarified it, but they stayed in the rooms that Kus made in the basement, they saw that Izuku was finishing making breakfast for everyone, since he had already had breakfast, and how do they know this? Well, because of the dirty dishes and sitting at the table waiting for breakfast were Himari and Kus, which woke up after Izuku, but before the Gremory entourage. Himari. Good morning, girls. Saying it with a lot of energy, drawing the attention of the Gremory group and Izuku. Gremory's entourage. Good morning, deciding to sit in the extended dining room thanks to Kus. I clarify that the house looks the same from the outside, but when you enter it is much larger than it appears, something like the camping house that appears in the fourth Harry Potter movie, The Goblet of Fire, only it is limited to some parts, such as the living room, dining room, bathrooms, kitchen and bedrooms, in addition to the basement. Other than that everything was normal. Izuku. Good morning everyone, and you, Kiba. Gremory's entourage. Good morning to you too. Kaneko. Is breakfast ready? Izuku. Yep, and I gave each of you your favorite. Zenobia. Wait, how did you know which one was our favorite? Izuku. Himari told me about Kaneko, and this Kus told me about the rest. Note. Please, if you know what Kaneko's favorite food is, please tell me because I couldn't find it while researching, so I'll put something that I myself believe is her favorite food, but I repeat, I don't really know what it is, and so let's continue. Izuku. Kaneko's favorite breakfast is pancakes with maple syrup and sugar on top, with a little bit of cajeta between the pancakes. I would say this with her breakfast in one hand, taking it and placing it in front of Kaneko, along with cutlery and a glass like the ones in Vive Latino. For those who know what I mean before investigating it, I love you like you have no idea. Full of a banana smoothie that contained a little granola and chocomilk, in case you're wondering. Sometimes we make the smoothie at my house, only my stepfather puts a lot of granola in it, making everyone sweat a drop, thinking the Gremory entourage had made a mistake, until they saw Kaneko with stars in her eyes and a big smile not very common in her. Kaneko. Yesss. Unintentionally, she gave Izuku a strong hug, which he reciprocated very happily, and Kaneko didn't give a damn what others thought, since if someone made her favorite breakfast, they automatically became someone Kaneko trusted. Rias? Really? Himari. For a reason she is so attached to me and from now on to Izuku too. Rias? And that reason is? Himari. Her special breakfast. Asia. Sorry, but I still don't understand. Himari. Since very few have been interested in knowing more about us than Akasho, she considers those who take the trouble to know more about her as people or beings close to her and very trustworthy. Rias. Doesn't it count to give him a monthly supply of treats? Himari. She doesn't consider them that close to her, but she does consider them something like a family member that you don't see often, like an uncle or a cousin. Rias. I'm glad to hear that. I'll just add that about the food of those we care about, since the rest is pure filler. Arena. But what does that have to do with knowing your favorite breakfast? Himari. Have any of you ever been interested in knowing your favorite food? Akeno. Now that you mention it. Himari. I'll take it as not coming from you, Akeno-san. Izuku. But at least they care about her and take good care of her, right? Zenobia. We take care of each other. Tiba. If one of us is in trouble, the rest of us will go help him. Izuku. As the saying goes, you mess with one and you mess with them all. Rias. Exactly, saying it very proud of her nobility. Kus. It's good that they treat each other like that. Himari. But we have to hurry up and eat breakfast so we can train. Izuku. I'll go change. Kus. I will prepare the training areas. Kaneko. Aren't you planning on having breakfast? Izuku. I woke up earlier so I already had breakfast. Kus. I don't need food, but I eat for pleasure. Rias. But you're an angel, even their leader sleeps at least once in a while. Kus. I already told you that I'm not like the angels you know. Akeno. Try it. Kus. My skin color, my clothes, my staff and my power. Rias. But I don't feel like you have any power. Izuku. From what I was told, the Kus race has a divine power that only gods and other angels are able to feel, or those beings who have divine power. Kus. That's right, although I'm not the most powerful. Tiba. What do you mean? Kus. Besides my father, who is the most powerful of all my brothers, Awamo and Martinu, they are only a little more powerful than me. Rias. So only other angels can feel your power. Izuku. I'll take care of preparing the training areas while you show him. Kus. Thanks. After that, while everyone was having breakfast, Izuku went to change and prepare the training areas for everyone, while Kus taught them with the help of his staff where he came from, what his species was like, how powerful they were, and everything about the angels and, by the way, about Izuku. Once everyone and Kiba finished breakfast, they were guided by Kus to the training area that was under the house. When they entered they were really surprised since they didn't expect to see a specialized training area for each of them and Kiba, but after what Kus told them, they shouldn't have been that surprised either. Rias. Did you create this, Kus? Kus. I just made a very large training area. Izuku took care of customizing each area for you. Asia. But how? Kus. I left him a note for the adaptation of each one's training zones. Kaneko. You don't have a special training area. Kus. That's because I'm not going to train. Zenobia. But why? Kus. First I consider it unnecessary and second I wouldn't have any progress with any of you. Irina. So what are you going to teach us? Kus. Oh, I'm going to dedicate myself to training Izuku in a new technique while you train Himari-san in the use of magic and the little knowledge of Kai that you have. Now that I think about it, if Himari-san finishes magic training at the same time as Izuku, I can train both of you in the use of Kai. Izuku. It could help me on some occasions if I combine it with hockey. Kaneko. Izuku-senpai, approaching Izuku, I was wondering, could you teach me how to use hockey? Izuku. Of course Kaneko-chan. How magically Kaneko was in Izuku's arms in a bear hug with legs included. Kaneko. Thank you Izuku-senpai. Izuku. By the way, I was wondering if you guys attend the UA Heroine Academy. Akeno. We used to go to Kuo Co-ed Academy, but due to some inconveniences this year we will enter UA. Izuku. So everyone in Kiba are going to take the entrance exam in 10 months. Rias. Indeed, just like an old friend. Izuku. Everyone first. Akeno. I wouldn't like it, but since our previous academy taught practically nothing about heroic acts and such, we have to start from scratch to improve little by little. Izuku. Okay then we only have 10 months to train and improve. Asia. Are you going to? Izuku. Let's just say the principal and I will surprise the others. They all looked at him somewhat strangely, but finally let him go and started training. Izuku, being instructed by Kus, tried to learn the summoning since even though she does not use it, she knows how to use it and would have done it with a couple of animals, explaining to her that she can summon not only common creatures or other beings like friends or acquaintances, but that she can create fictional beings like a being invented by him or occupy that of a game, movie, etc. The only thing he had to be very clear about was the image of the being in his head. The clearer the image, the easier it would be to summon it. While this was happening with Izuku, the Gremory entourage focused on teaching Himari magic. Despite knowing the basics, having lived in her kitten form for so long without using magic, her body was not used to it, so they had to adapt her body again, starting little by little. And so, 3 months passed, with Kaneko being the last to train Himari in the use of Senjutsu, and Izuku choosing to completely perfect his summoning, being able to summon 10 beings for a maximum of 2 minutes, and only one for 4 hours. After that Kus started with Himari and Izuku's Kai training, but in the end, Kaneko also wanted to train the use of Kai, so it was a pretty busy training, while the rest decided to train on their own, and at times Izuku began to teach Kaneko the armor hockey, and after 1 month, Himari also became interested in the same thing, spending the 10 months in this way, ending the 10 months with Izuku, learning only the technique of flying, and how to launch waves of nothing more, also increasing his physical abilities quite like the other two, but without exaggerating, reaching Izuku only with the Kai to the level of Goku in his fight against Nappa and Himari, and Kaneko to the level of Dodoria in the Namek saga. Here I want to clarify that Dodoria is stronger than that Goku, since that Goku could barely beat Vegeta, and Vegeta could not against Dodoria until after his Zenkai that he got after the battle against Goku. It was already the day of the exam, and the Gremory entourage had retired with Himari to take the exam, and Izuku and Kus, at the invitation of the director, went to see how the exams were developed, and when they arrived at the room to see the physical test. Midnight. They're about to start. I wonder if being interrupted by a teleportation sound in the room. Izuku. Why didn't you teach me this? Kus. You didn't ask. Izuku. Good point. Suddenly he looks forward and sees a woman with some kind of gas mask, a cowboy hat with a poncho while pointing a gun at his face. Snipe. Who are they? Nezu. Calm down Snipe, I invited them. Cementus. Are you serious, director? Still in doubt. Nezu. Sip. Izuku. Are we late? Izawa. They actually arrived on time. Nezu. Could you please take a seat, pointing to 2 empty seats next to her. Both. Clear. Both would sit watching how the exam developed, leaving Izuku surprised by the amount of different species there were. Kus only looked for the Gremory group with his eyes, finding them separated but getting points, the highest scoring being Kaneko and Himari by using their low to finish off the robots more quickly. After a while, 10 robots with 0 points came out, of which only 4 were destroyed. One by Kaneko when saving a girl with blonde hair and horns, the other by Himari when trying to save a zombie girl who had lost her arm under some rubble and also got stuck, the other was thanks to a little ash-haired girl with go issues just for fun, without knowing that she was saving a brown-haired girl and a permanent blush on her face, and the last one was destroyed by a somewhat short, dark-haired girl with glasses while saving a one-eyed girl with self-esteem issues, but with weapons designed especially for her. After the end of the test was given, Ectoplasm decided to speak. Ectoplasm. Excuse me, director, but what are those two doing here? Nezu. True, I don't want you to say anything yet, but young Izuku here is the first man with a quirk in the world. Snipe. He's pulling our leg, isn't he? Izawa. Unfortunately not. Cementus. How did you already know about this? Midnight. She's not the only one. Nezu. The point is, calling everyone's attention and Izuku, I propose to enter UA without taking the exam to give the students a surprise. Almighty. Are you sure, director? Nezu. Completely. Also, I wanted to ask you something, Miss Kus. Kus. What happened? Nezu. I wanted to ask you to join the academy too. Izawa. But director. Nezu. She's the most powerful I've ever met. I wish she was in the academy. Kus. You want me to be there in case of problems, right? Nezu. He's found me out. Kus. There's really no reason for me to be a student at this academy. Almighty. Why do you say that? Kus. Despite my appearance, I am much older than humanity itself. I also don't know how old Kus is, so let's leave it at that. Our loader. How can we know you're not lying? Nezu. What if we ask him things that even we wouldn't know at his age, and that way we confirm it? Snipe. Sounds good to me. And so they spent 30 minutes asking questions that not even they currently knew, and she answered them all correctly and with solid arguments that could not be judged, leaving them without questions. Kus. Now you believe me? All. Without a doubt. Kus. In that case, the best thing would be to become a teacher. Nezu. What do you want to teach? Kus. Whatever you want, I don't care. Nezu. Almighty, you'll need help since this is your first time teaching. Almighty. Have you taught anyone yet? Kus. She was the teacher of the Destroyer God of Universe 10 and current teacher of Izuku, Kaneko and Himari. Nezu. Her friends will let you know when classes start and we'll send you a letter letting you know where she'll be teaching and which class she's in. Both. Agreed. After that, Kus would teleport Izuku to his house to wait for his new friends and Kiba since they knew they were going to go for a stray demon and Himari wanted to see how they would do it, leaving them alone so they could talk and spend time alone, deciding that Izuku would make a dinner just for the two of them and have a good time, ending with both of them on the couch watching a movie with a Kus snuggled up to Izuku while Izuku hugged her, making her cuddles that she responded with a very tender laugh, a blush and sometimes a tender kiss that Izuku would respond with great pleasure, ending up ignoring the movie and dedicating themselves to cuddling each other and several kisses in between for 35 minutes, since when they stopped it was because they heard the door opening, seeing only how Kus was snuggled up in Izuku with no intention of taking off and an Izuku who only hugged her in a loving but at the same time protective way, making a really scene pretty. Himari. What is it? Izuku. Movie, dinner, and us. Himari. Damn. Kaneko. What's going on? Himari. I'm already ahead. Rias. Wait, are you dating him? Himari. Both of us, we decided to share it for personal reasons. Kaneko. Can I talk to you? Talking to Himari. Himari. Can it be later? Now I'm sleepy and I don't think I'm the only one, besides tomorrow we have to get up early to keep training. Rias. That's true, you two mushy people, let's rest. Kus. I don't sleep. Izuku. I do if you want, just meditate and that's it, but let's sleep. Hiss. Okay. Rias. But how did the three of them have a relationship? Well, they were walking. Himari. It was very obvious. Another thing is that they wouldn't pay attention. Arena. That's very true. Kaneko. So you already knew? Zenobia. What surprises me is that you haven't noticed in these 10 months. Akeno. I didn't realize how Asia either. Asia. Because I was so focused on improving, I didn't realize. Asper. I did notice, but since I'm not very familiar with these things, I didn't know what it was. Kiba. That sounds logical to me. Rias. You also noticed Kiba. Kiba. I actually knew because Zenobia told him about it during a training session we had. Izuku. In short, he only got in thanks to Zenobia, or else he'd be like you guys. Kaneko. I was already saying, why are they so close in training? Izuku. That idea didn't cross your mind, did it? Kaneko. Nope. Izuku. Do you want candy? Kaneko. With stars in her eyes, hi. Izuku. I'm going to get them in my room or you go and he's already gone. Himari. Wait, he'll come back. And indeed Kaneko ran back. Kaneko. Where are the sweets? Izuku. In the drawer on the right side of the bed, looking at it from the door. The moment Kaneko stopped talking, she disappeared to reappear in Izuku's room, finding the sweets and then running to her room like a soul that the devil was after. All the others were already separating to go to their rooms only to see a white spot run by making them stop for a moment and then continue walking as if nothing had happened, and after settling into their rooms, they ended up falling asleep except for Kus who just stayed meditating, ending that day. First impressions. 5 days passed, now being Sunday. Well, the Gremory clan was somewhat impatient for the letters to arrive to know if they entered UA or not. Well, almost the entire entourage was like that except for Kaneko, Himari, Rias, and Zenovia. Rias was reading, Zenovia was lazing while watching a series, Kaneko was watching the series while sitting on Izuku's lap while he was feeding her some chocolates. And Himari was listening to relaxing music while she saw something curious about Kaneko's attitude with Izuku, although she was internally between curious and very amused by what Kaneko told her 4 days before. Flashback. Kaneko would have summoned Himari to her room to talk about something that had Kaneko very confused for about 3 weeks. Himari was already getting an idea of what they were going to talk about, but first she wanted Kaneko to tell her herself. Once Himari was alone with Kaneko in her room, Kaneko decided to start. Kaneko. Hima-chan, there's something I have to tell you. Himari. Is it on target? Kaneko, all red. No. It's about something else. Himari. Okay account. Kaneko. It's just that. Himari. Is that what? Kaneko. I think Emmy. Himari. The. Kaneko. I think I like Izuku. Himari. And you know that because. Kaneko. I think I'd better keep that to myself. Himari. How come? Kaneko. It's something embarrassing for me to tell you. Himari. Okay, I'm not going to bother you with that, but if you really like it, then say it. Kaneko. I feel sorry for her, slightly blushing. Himari. What do you think if you invite Izuku to your room or something so you can tell him in private? Kaneko. I will do it, but when I want, so don't try to help me, neither you nor anyone else. Himari. You take the fun out of life, but it's okay, take your time. Then flashback. Himari, thinking. When are you planning to tell him? She's been so attached to him for 4 days that it makes me jealous. While this was happening, there was finally a knock on the door and Asia and Irina rushed to the door, seeing that it was the postman with several boxes that had the name of each of the girls and the 2 boys, raising a big doubt in everyone and Kiba, except for Himari, who already knew about this. Rias. Izuku-san, why are there boxes with your name and Kus's if you didn't go to take the exam? Izuku. Kus and I were offered the option to pass without having to take the exam. Kus. They offered me a job as a teacher since they can't teach me anything and I can teach you, and Izuku was a student but didn't take the exam since the principal wants to surprise the students by being the first male human to have powers. Bakeno. That makes sense to me. After the afternoon, between conversations and laughter, they decided to go to sleep so that tomorrow morning they would be prepared early with lots of energy, or that was the idea. The next day. Rias. It can't be, we were late. Izuku. They were late. Asia. Why didn't they wake us up? While running around getting ready. Himari. It wasn't our obligation. Zenovia. I'll get paid. Kus. That's for not setting the alarm. Bakeno. I had to put it. Kaneko. Kaneko. Yes, I did. Another thing is that they didn't want to stop when it rang. Kiba. That and because she set the alarm at a somewhat low volume. Kaneko. But you heard her, right? Kiba. Good point. And this happened because when the girls woke up there were 30 minutes left before classes started and the other 5 woke up 1 hour before them, having more than enough time to eat, shower, change, talk and make fun of their friends. After leaving their house with 15 minutes left, the girls finally remember that they are 5 minutes away from the academy, causing them to become depressed and mentally scold each other. Izuku, for his part, decided to go with Kus to the academy through teleportation so he could go directly to the principal without having to draw attention to the fact that a boy was in the academy wearing the same uniform. The Gremory entourage along with Himari when they arrived asked for directions to a hyperactive girl with light blue hair, which after an interrogation on the way they finally arrived, seeing something they did not expect since in the room there was a zombie girl sleeping in her place, a very shy Cyclops with a girl with brown hair shaped like a mushroom, looking like a copy of the Cyclops, a black-haired girl with great attributes next to a purple-haired girl who seemed to be gothic or rocker. The black-haired girl with a permanent serious face, apparently, and less developed than the other black-haired girl, and a girl with orange hair, with a very positive attitude speaking, implying that they have known each other for a long time, an explosive character girl arguing with a blue-haired girl with glasses, and between them, a green-haired girl somewhat nervous by the attitude of the explosive girl, and a blonde girl with glasses laughing at the situation. Rias. Well, let's sit down. Tamari. The seat next to me is far away, huh? Kaneko. Then I'll sit next to you. Tamari. You better sit in the seat next to that one. Kaneko. Too low, did you stay? Tamari. In a whisper, should I'll apply it. After sitting down, the girl with blue hair and glasses approached them, running along with the green-haired and blonde-haired girl. Blue-haired girl. Nice to meet you. I'm Kinalita from Same Academy. Well, bowing. Kiba. Nice to meet you, Lita-san. We are the Gremory Demon Entourage, with Kibayudo as the horse. Izumi. I couldn't think of another name for the chili. Oh, that explains how you got in, by the way. My name is Izumi Midorilla. Nice to meet you, also bowing. Melissa. I'm Melissa Shield. Nice to meet you. She didn't bow. I mean, if you thought, she also remembers that she's a foreigner like a pony and doesn't know the customs well, although she knows how to say quite a few words in Japanese. Unlike ponies, thanks to her intelligence, she still needs to learn. Rias. A pleasure. As Kiba said, we are the Gremory Entourage, with me being the king piece, my friend Akeno Himejima, pointing at her, is the queen, Asia Argento, pointing at her, my bishop, Gasper Vladi, pointing at her. Remember that in this story Gasper is a woman and has a little more confidence in herself than in the original story. My other bishop, Kaneko Taoju, pointing at her, my Rokan Zenobia Quarta, pointing at her, correct me if I'm wrong, my other knight. Izumi. And what happened to your other rook or your pawns? Rias. My other tower had to retreat to a mission in Asgard since Roswis is a Valkyrie. Melissa. And your pawns? Rias. Unfortunately, my pawn, who previously held the 8 pieces, died in a mission assigned to him, only managing to complete it at the cost of his life, seeing how she, Asia, Gasper, Kiba, and Akeno became sad. Lita. I think it's better not to touch on that subject. At that moment, a caterpillar with drug problems and sleep entered, crawling until he was in front of the class. Izawa. Well, I'm Shota Izawa and I'm your homeroom teacher. Before I tell you what we're going to do, the principal is going to make an announcement. In that you can see the direct moment. Let's see first what happened before Izawa arrived at the classroom. Flashback. The moment Kus and Izuku arrived at the principal's office, they saw her eating some cookies along with a coffee, which she spat out in surprise and almost choked on the cookie. Nezu. Never do that again. Izuku. Excuse us, director, it just occurred to us to arrive like this to avoid attracting attention at the entrance. Kus. It's not very common to see a guardian angel with my appearance and a man who doesn't belong to the factions or the demihumans wearing the uniform of this academy. Nezu. Okay, just this once I'll let it go. Even so, there are 15 minutes left until classes start. Do you want some coffee? Izuku. Sure, why not? Kus. I'm curious to know what coffee tastes like. Izuku. You haven't tried it because I haven't needed to thanks to my training with Whis and the others. Kus. What do you mean? Izuku. Simply put, coffee helps you stay awake, and with enough coffee it can negatively affect you. Kus. I mean. Izuku. As long as an adult doesn't drink more than 4 cups of coffee a day, it will be fine. True fact, as long as an average adult doesn't drink more than 4 cups, it is fine, since drinking more than this could damage the person's health, and it also depends on whether the coffee itself causes any harm. In that case, it is recommended not to drink it, or if you do drink it, be very careful. Kus. No warnings for me? Izuku. You're a guardian angel who's lived for thousands of years, and your body works differently than us humans in many ways. I think you should be fine taking 2 a day. Piss. Okay, D. After that they started talking until it was time. Nezu. Oh wow, it's about time, he said, getting up from his place while heading to the door. Kus. Okay, what room am I in? Nezu. Don't worry, you're teaching heroism classes with Almighty. She's going to start teaching in 3rd A, the class of the big 3 of UA. Izuku. And how do you eat that? Nezu. These are the 3 students most likely to be the future #1 heroes. Kus. What is the warning from the Almighty? Nezu. Indeed, I've already warned him. Kus. Why did he put me with her? Nezu. It's her first time teaching, and since you were the teacher of a god, maybe you could even teach her some things. Kus. Seems reasonable to me. Okay, just give me a moment. What Kus did was take out his staff, and after seeing Nezu's memories he knew where he had to go, and he even knew practically where everything was in the academy. After that he said goodbye to Izuku with a kiss and a hug, and then went to give his classes. Meanwhile, taking advantage of the fact that everyone was already in their classrooms, Izuku and Nezu decided to talk on the way while they arrived, which took about 2 minutes. When they arrived, Nezu entered first, telling her that when the signal came, he would come in to introduce himself as he did before, and she would be in charge of explaining the rest. Once she entered, all the students looked surprised and curious to know that their principal was a very adorable rat bear dog and the zombie girl was picked up by the Cyclops. Nezu. Good morning. Everyone in Kiba. Good morning director. Nezu. Well, your teacher Izawa I think has already told you that I'm going to make an announcement. Everyone in Kiba nod. Nezu. The announcement is that apart from young Udo, they will have another male companion. At that, Izuku entered the room, leaving some surprised, one confused, and others thinking about the Bible. Izuku. Nice to meet you, my name is Izuku, I hope we can get along well, he said everything with a smile that showed tranquility and also made a slight bow. Lita. Excuse me for interrupting, but I never saw you on the entrance exam. Momo. True, I didn't see you in the recommended exam either. Everyone turned to look at her because of that comment since they didn't know that. Nezu. That's Miss Momo, because he got in on my recommendation and at my request. He didn't take the entrance exam since I was able to see his skills at other times, and I considered them more than enough to get in without the need to take the exam. Hendo. Okay, so what faction does he belong to? Nezu. That's what's incredible, he's a human and has never been in a faction other than the human one. Zombie. That's impossible. She got hit in the head by Izawa. Nezu. I'm telling the truth, he's 100% human, and despite that he has more than 4 powers. Momo. I don't believe that anymore, director, there have been reports of people with even 2 quirks, but someone with more than 4 is simply impossible. Nezu. I never said they were quirks since the powers he has are completely different from quirks. Yui. What do you mean? Nezu. That's something you'll have to discover for yourselves, and since I don't want to take up any more of Izawa's time, I'm leaving. After Director Izawa left, she decided to speak before a scandal broke out. Izawa. I want you to go change into your sports uniform and I want to see you in the academy courtyard in 15 minutes. Everyone without exception went to change, and Izawa showed Izuku and Kiba the men's locker rooms, and although they were much smaller than the women's, it was understandable, and they both went in to change, while the girls were discussing whether what the principal told them was true or she just made it up, all except Himari and the Gremory entourage who didn't pay attention to them, and after changing they went to the courtyard where Izawa was waiting for them. Izawa. Very well, let's do a quirk test. Hinoko. Como seria iso Izawa-sensei? Izawa. It will be like the practices they did in high school, only this time they will do it with their quirks. Kaneko Taoju, you had the highest score on the entrance exam, right? Kaneko. Ice cream. Izawa. Go to the circle and take the ball. Kaneko does what Izawa asked her to do. Izawa. Now I want you to throw it with all your strength using your quirk. Kaneko. Any restrictions? Izawa. As long as you're inside the circle, you can do whatever you want. Kaneko would have decided to show her Nekashu features, surprising those who didn't know, and after that she would have concentrated Kai, and with the help of her already increased strength, she would have sent her flying for about 4.5 kilometers, leaving everyone surprised except the entourage and Himari. Zombie. That was great. This looks like it's going to be fun. Izawa. So that's fun, huh? You have 3 years to become heroines and heroes. I wonder if they'll keep that attitude with you, and just so you know there will be a series of tests, and I will grade them, and whoever comes in last will be considered without potential, and will be expelled from the academy. Giving a creepy smile. Minoko. Why you can't? Izawa. Here at UA, every teacher is free to teach however they want. Everyone is welcome at UA. After that the tests began, some of them were lateral jumps, flexibility, 50-meter dash, and grip strength. Once the tests were over, there was the ball throwing, and the one who was last was Yui since Minako, being a Cyclops, has physical ability superior to a common human from birth, so thanks to that she was not last, but in this last one, she gave her a good score by using her quirk as an advantage to throw the ball further, with the help of a few stones that she shrank and then returned to a larger size, thus pushing the ball further, but still being insufficient to go up. Izawa. Son Izuku. Izuku would pass and take the ball. Izuku. Do I have to give it my all? Izawa. Preferentemente. Izuku would decide to use Sunshine's power, but thanks to how advanced he is in Sunshine and his heat absorption ability, he no longer needs to transform. Izuku would have started to emanate a lot of heat, surprising everyone since no one knew that power until they saw that Izuku threw the ball, sending it flying about 39 kilometers, which would have shocked everyone, Himari too, since despite the fact that she knew the name and function of his powers, she only saw the summoning power since the others were never seen. After everyone came out of their surprise, Izawa would decide to speak. Izawa. Very well, now I want everyone to pay attention since the scores are on this screen. The positions being as follows. 1. Ria's Gremory. 2. Kaneko Taoju. 3. Okeno Himejima. 4. Kitsumi Bakugu. 5. Zenobia Quarta. 6. Itsuka Kendo. 7. Yudo Kiba. 8. Kinalita. 9. Himari Nahara. 10. Izuku's son. 11. Zambina. 12. Minako. 13. Gaspar Vladi. 14. Momoyaoi Rozu. 15. Izumi Midoriya. 16. Kyoka Jiro. 17. Asia Argento. 18. Kinoko Komori. 19. Melissa Shield. 20. Yui Kadai. Yui? Well. Izawa. By the way, the exhibition thing was a lie. All? What? Momo? It was logical if you think about it. Izuku? Considering his attitude and personality, I'd say it wasn't a lie. Momo? And you what? Rias? Calm down. Besides, I agree with him. Hendo? Could you please explain? Himari? What they mean is that since she is a racerhead, it is unlikely that she will tell a lie, joke or something similar. Izawa? Very good deduction. Let's just say I won't expel anyone for personal reasons. Izuku? That's enough. Izawa? Now go. After that they would have gone to change to continue with their classes normally and calmly, and after a couple of hours the break would come. In the dining room where all the first were eating, it would be seen that there were a maximum of 7 men, being 1 demon, another an angel, 2 other fallen angels, 2 minotaurs and an ordinary human. This last one caught everyone's attention since at first they thought he was an angel when they saw him for the first time, then a demon, because of how he beat up the 2 minotaurs, and then a fallen angel, because of his reasons for hitting them. Izuku? I don't care if you insult me or mess with me, but what I really can't stand is you guys trying to take advantage of the beautiful ladies here just because you're minotaurs. That awakened a desire in all of them about him, all of them except the Gremory clan, since something similar happened to them once with a centaur, and in the end the poor centaur ended up in a hospital for 2 months. Himari was somewhat jealous, as was Kaneko, seeing the faces of some turn red, others had nasal discharges, and others looked at him shamelessly in a perverted way, causing Himari and Kaneko to take action, with Himari being the one who took him by the arm, burying his arm between her breasts, making everyone jealous, and once they sat at a table to eat, Kaneko made her move, sitting on Izuku's lap, asking him if she could feed him. This first of all made everyone without exception jealous. Second, Himari wanted to kill Kaneko for doing that, and in public, since not even she has gone that far in all the time they have known each other. And finally Izuku, between confused and surprised by her request, ended up accepting when he saw that she was doing the deadly puppy dog eyes technique, which he couldn't resist, and while he ate from time to time he would feed Kaneko with the same chopsticks he was eating, making everyone think the same thing. Everyone's mind. That's an indirect kiss. Izuku at one point didn't give it any importance until he analyzed the situation and ended up blushing a little, but seeing that Kaneko was also blushing, but with a smile, he decided not to say anything and better talk about it later in private with her. But then some girls approached them, apparently demons and fallen angels, to talk to Izuku. Angel 1. Sorry. Izuku? Yes. Fallen Angel 1. What faction are you, handsome? Izuku? I'm sorry, but I'm not part of any faction. Demon 1. That's impossible, tell the truth or I'll. Rias? What are you going to do? Demonio 2. Rias-sama. Rias? Finish what you were going to say. Demon 1. Why did Rias-sama become defensive? Or is she perhaps his new pawn? Rias? He is neither my pawn nor part of any faction. Angel 3. What does it refer to? Akeno. If only they would concentrate on feeling his presence, they would realize. After that, and after there was a lot of commotion about seeing an ordinary human, Baron, being in the hero class, the break would finally end, but not before attracting the attention of all the students of all UA, and a somewhat special interest on the part of a short girl with black hair and glasses, upon learning that her childhood friend Rias defended him when they thought he was a liar. And after that stressful day, on the way out they found Kus waiting for them. Izuku? Kus, did you finish before us? Kus. Currently I only teach 3rd year students, and in 2 days I will teach you all. Izuku. And what did you do? Himari. So how did it go with your partner, and what did you do, or what did you teach? Kus. Well. Flashback. Kus, upon entering her classroom, sees that they are all girls, and they all looked at her with curiosity, since it seemed strange to them to see someone who looked like a girl being there, until a hyperactive blue-haired girl spoke. Najire. Hey girl, are you lost? Why do you have that skin color? Why is your hair white? Is it because of your quirk? Are you part of a faction? What is that big staff for? Where did you get your clothes? Why? Being interrupted by one of her companions. Uncle. Calm down Najira, leave at least time between questions so that he can answer, with a smile and a drop of sweat on his head while holding his shoulder. Najira. Okay 10. Cuss. Answering your questions. 1. I didn't get lost since they asked me to come here. 2. I have this skin color from birth. 3. My hair is the same story as my skin. 4. I don't have what they call a quirk, it's something different but complicated to explain. 5. Even though I am a guardian angel, I am not part of any of its factions. 6. This is not a staff, it is a staff and it allows me to do some techniques. 7. My clothes are, so to speak, the uniform of the guardian angels, only I am already used to it and I consider it as my normal clothes. Centauria. That doesn't explain why a girl is here at the UA. Cuss. We are waiting for my partner to start teaching, and first of all I want to clarify that despite my appearance, I am someone very old. Mia. Of course, and I'm a Pegasus. Cuss. I already said it, so don't bother me. Najire. Can I borrow your staff? Cuss. If you take it off my hands, I'll give it to you for the rest of the day until tomorrow. Najire. Take it for granted. And so Najire threw herself to grab the staff until she saw how Cuss moved very quickly and hit her lightly on the back of the neck, making her fall somewhat hard to the floor, placing her hands just in time so as not to hurt herself so much, leaving everyone impressed since at no time did they see Cuss move but suddenly appeared above Najire floating and hitting her somewhat hard with his staff at the words of her companions. Cuss. Very slow. Suddenly, behind her, he was sneaking up on me to grab her and take the staff. What I didn't expect was for Cuss to disappear from one second to the next, appearing behind me doing the same thing as with Najire. Dude. What kind of quirk is that? Cuss. I'm not using any of that, it's just my normal speed. Everyone would be surprised to hear that, but they almost had a heart attack with the following. Cuss. Although I must admit that I have to restrain myself from killing them. He. Uncle. Ah, what do you mean by that? Cuss. Of my 15 siblings, I made some up, I am the third strongest and the weakest of us has enough power to destroy dozens of galaxies in less than 1 second. He. Holt. That's I am possible, with a trembling voice. Let me tell you it's true. All the students. Almighty. Almighty. First of all to your seats. All the students went to their respective seats and Cuss stood in front with both hands behind his back with a very relaxed attitude but reflecting formality at the same time. Almighty. I see you've already met your new hero teacher, Cuss. Really? Almighty. I will work with Cuss since, even though I am the #1 heroine, it is the first time I teach and she already has a lot of experience in that field, so it is likely that even I will learn something new, which is why I ask you to go to Gamma Field for your test. Cuss. You can go with your heroine costume or your sports costume, whichever you feel most comfortable in. After that, they all went to change into their heroine outfits since they thought they might need them. After a few minutes, they all arrived, waiting for instructions. Almighty. Very well, ladies, since you're already in your 3rd year, you must already have experience and very good teamwork. They all nodded that. Cuss. There are 20 of you, so form teams of 5 people, and once you have the teams ready, we'll start the test. After about 5 minutes the teams were already formed, waiting for instructions from their sensei. Cuss. Very well, the exercise, as you can imagine, is based on teamwork, but it won't be as easy as you think. Najire. What does it refer to? Cuss. You see, there will be a bomb in the middle of one of the streets of the city simulation, and what you have to do is touch the bomb or catch whoever will be the villain to pass the test. Uncle. But if it's just one villain, she'd have a disadvantage compared to the rest, right? Cuss. That's why I'll be the villain, and Almighty will be analyzing the situation from a control room, looking for possible faults on your part, and will also announce whether you pass the test or not. Almighty. There will be a 20-minute time limit and a 10-minute break time, using 5 of them to communicate errors and advice, and the other 5 for the next team to prepare. Cuss. Your team Tyanitia will be the first, please accompany me and the others accompany Almighty to the control zone please. Once Cuss and the girls' team arrived at the venue, the team was. I have 100 years of experience in the field of medicine. Cuss. Before starting, I recommend that you come with everything or else you won't be able to get close, all with your relaxed attitude but with a confident smile. Mary, easier that way, right? V. You shouldn't underestimate us. Almighty, from a speaker. Start. They started with Mary sinking into the floor to get out near the bomb, but to her surprise when she came out the bomb was already somewhere else, without knowing that Cuss with his staff had made the bomb float, leaving it out of her reach. Cuss. Like I said, come with everything, with an angelic smile, XD, and a very relaxed attitude. Taking advantage of Cuss's small distraction, Najire would try to fly away. Seeing this, Uncle would decide to go straight towards Cuss to serve as a distraction so Najire could get the bomb. Obviously this failed since Cuss stopped all of her attacks without any difficulty and was also able to prevent Najire from touching the bomb, giving Najire a small blow causing her to fall in Tio's direction, who could barely catch it. Mia and Santoria would try to attack her in a synchronized manner but would fail miserably because Cuss stopped all of their attacks and left them paralyzed by attacking some pressure points on their bodies. It's been 5 minutes now and they haven't even come close to reaching the bomb or touching it. Mary. Najire, man, we have to attack together or we won't get anything. Cuss. I'll give you some advice, never make your plans out loud so your enemy doesn't hear them and you can have the element of surprise in your favor. Uncle. Najire, Mary, let's do that. Najire. This is going to be a lot of fun, with a more relaxed attitude, but still with a smile that showed her confidence in that secret plan. Mary. It would be better to do it all because this will never be easy. At that, Uncle would rush forward using his great size and strength to keep Cuss distracted, while Najire floating would get close enough to launch some energy beams, while Mary tried to go underground in the direction of the bomb and then be thrown towards the height of the bomb, but despite their good teamwork, Cuss continued blocking and dodging her attacks while constantly moving the bomb preventing Mary from touching it. After 10 minutes the girls would separate, being very tired Tio and Najire, Mary being the least tired, but already knowing their result, they would decide to give up since they were not going to be able to do more and Santoria and Mia still could not move and not knowing how to get them out of that state and also not knowing how much longer they would be like that. After that, Almighty would end the meeting by asking the students to go to the observation room with Cuss to evaluate their performance. Of course, Cuss decided to remove the paralysis from Santoria and Mia and they all walked together to the observation room. Once they arrived at the place, Cuss stood next to Almighty and Uncle's team also stood in front but on the right side of Almighty. Almighty. Okay, could someone tell me what they did wrong? No one spoke because according to all of them they had done really well, only their opponent was more powerful than them. Almighty. Okay, Cuss. Cuss. It was mainly teamwork since, even though it was recommended to them at the beginning, they didn't do it, if not, until Mia and Santoria were immobilized, and since their objective was too obvious I could easily deduce their plan. You see Tio's attacks were not going to vital places or places that can affect the enemy's movement, this made me not give much importance to their attacks, and Najire's were launched to very specific places, such as the legs or the torso. Which implies that their objective was not to harm me, but to immobilize me, which also gave me time to see that Mary was not in the range of vision, and having seen her power beforehand, when she tried to do it herself, I already knew what they were trying to do. The only thing I didn't plan entirely well was where I moved the bomb since by moving it randomly constantly, I made sure that I couldn't catch it by not seeing under the ground and how Uncle and Najire spent a lot of energy trying to immobilize me by not having to exert myself so much because those attacks were not especially dangerous, I could remain calmer and more relaxed than you. And with respect to Santoria and Mia's attack, you must learn that you must work more as a team with the rest of your team, because even if you have the advantage in strength or size, it does not mean that you will win just because of that since someone faster and smaller than you can defeat you very easily if you do not have support. Although the coordination of all was good, the development and intentions were not adequate for the situation. After saying all that, everyone's jaws were on the floor due to Cuss's detailed and wise explanation. Halt. But aren't villains supposed to be killed, but rather immobilized? Cuss. In general yes, but if your enemy is more powerful than you, the important thing is to weaken him enough to immobilize him and, even if they don't want to accept it, sometimes kill the enemy if necessary. Mia. But. Almighty. Although I hate to admit it, she's right, all the students turn to look at her in surprise. I have never killed a villain, but sometimes it is necessary to do so, although they are instructed not to kill. Sometimes it is necessary to save innocents or even their own lives. That is something you learn once you start as a professional heroine, and not in internships. In internships what is done is give them a small taste of what the real world is like. But they are almost never taken on life or death missions more than anything to prevent them from suffering serious injury, trauma or death itself. Out there they can witness not only the death of civilians, they will also see that of villains and fellow heroines. That is something that they are usually not prepared for in the academy. They are made to know this, but they are not prepared for when it happens. Cuss. I would recommend preparing them for that. They all watched it with fear, but I won't make them kill people either. That relaxed them a little, but I will ask Najire for something. Najire. And that's it. Cuss. Makes a cute white bunny appear. I want you to take care of this rabbit for 2 days. Najire. But they don't let me have pets, somewhat sad. Cuss. Then prevent them from finding out that you have the rabbit. I want you to bring the rabbit back within 2 days, and then you will understand why I want you to do it. Najire. Okay, I was hesitant about Cuss's request, but also happy to have to take care of a rabbit. Cuss. Before we start the next meeting, I'd like to talk to Almighty about something, so we'll be right back. After retiring to a room away from the place and also soundproof the room would start Almighty. Almighty. What are you planning with that rabbit, Cuss? Cuss. A little test to confirm something. Almighty. Can you tell what it is? Cuss. In 2 days I'll ask her to kill the rabbit herself in front of the whole class, saying it as if it were an everyday thing. Almighty. But how did you think of it? Cuss. The test is not killing the rabbit, but the choice it makes. Almighty. What do you mean? Cuss. You and I will order her to do it. If she does it she will have failed the test, and I sincerely wouldn't recommend that she become a heroine, but if she doesn't. Almighty. I don't understand the point of your test. Cuss. The goal is to know if she would blindly follow orders or instead reason for herself and take an action on her own that she believes would be the most useful and the best decision. Almighty. And why are you doing this test? Cuss. First, because she seems like she would be the one who would doubt the most when taking the test, and second, because sometimes heroes and other people die or suffer or make someone else suffer for following the rules to the letter without having thought before that there could have been another way, and instead of thinking they decided to follow the instructions only because the order came from an authority figure higher than her. Almighty. Now I understand. I thought you were going to force her to kill the rabbit. Cuss. I would do it, but if I did, there would surely be a lot of political problems, and the truth is that I don't want to do that either, much less to someone as sweet as her. Almighty. I assume that you will give that test to all groups at different times, but with the same objective. Cuss. Indeed, it is necessary for them to understand that they are not soldiers without the option to think, and that they always think about possibilities and options quickly without obeying like robots. Just as he said that, he remembered the tournament of the power of the universes, remembering the fusion of Pepperoni and Moscow. Almighty. Okay, in that case let's continue. And that was how Cuss's entire day went, giving tests to all the groups he had that day, and only giving the cute bunny to Najire, and not mentioning that test again, until he told Izuku and the others until break time, where he explained that there was a rumor about a human man in the heroism course, and she was wondering what he did, now being Izuku's turn to explain what happened. Then flashback. After that conversation, they would arrive at their house where Izuku would start cooking food for everyone, talking among themselves to spend time of charity, so that after the day, everyone would go to their room, ending that busy day, especially for Izuku. Classes with Cuss. After 2 days since classes started, with nothing but regular school classes for the first years and a mini hell for the second and third years with Cuss classes, we found ourselves on the day in which Cuss would give his first class to the first years, with the A years being the ones who would train before the B years due to schedules, and because it was the same story with the higher grades. Izuku was already in his classroom with the other girls in Kiba while they waited for Aizawa for his class, which was already running quite late. Lita. Why is the teacher taking so long? Melissa. You should relax, Lita, maybe something came up. Himari. What if you get the wrong teacher? Lita. What do you mean? Himari. The class we have right now might not be with Aizawa, but instead with another teacher who is finishing up with another group or finishing preparing the class. Lita. You're absolutely right. Thank you so much for pointing that out to me. While giving a deep bow. Himari. With a drop of sweat on her head, you're welcome. Zambina. And how did you know that? Himari. If Aizawa taught us, she'd be asleep with her sleeping bag behind her desk. Kendo. That makes sense to me. Before they could continue talking, the doors opened suddenly, revealing a muscular woman with a very confident smile, and next to her what appears to be a girl wearing strange clothes. Almighty. I'm coming in like a normal person. Making the entrance we all know. Cuss. If that's normal I don't want to know what's weird. Almighty. Izumi. Wow. Minako. Is she teaching at UA? Yui. Isn't it her Silver Age outfit? Almighty. Very well. Please be quiet. Everyone magically fell silent. Almighty. Okay, before we start heroism class, we have to make some announcements. Cuss. First of all, getting everyone's attention, let me introduce myself. I'm Cuss, your teacher in heroism classes, control and management of your quirks. Zambina. Ha, yes of course, and I'm a harpy, ha. Almighty. Miss Zambina. Cuss. Leave her, I don't think she'll keep that attitude for long. Hey, at that small laugh, the blood of the entire Grimoire entourage would freeze. Himari was very nervous, and Izuku, although he seemed calm, was scared to death. No one but Kendo and Minako noticed this, and because of this they would have gotten nervous. Cuss. Now that Zambina-san has calmed down, the second announcement is that we're going to do a combat-related activity, but for that we're going to bring something important. When he said that, Almighty pressed a button on a controller, causing several briefcases to emerge from the wall. Each one had a number, and these were delivered by Cuss thanks to his staff, according to each one's position and as always exercise. Almighty. Those are your hero and heroine outfits respectively. Please go put them on and we'll wait for you in the beta training area. He said the last part while shouting as he ran out of the room. Cuss. Ah, you can't do it with her. He turns to the group and with his vacuum shows a hologram. You see, in this area is the entrance to the beta area, the way from the locker room. He starts to show the way, marking it with a red line. Is this, those who can learn it, please guide the others, stopping making his hologram. We'll expect you in 20 minutes, although if you're late, there's nothing wrong with that D. After that, Cuss left the room. As soon as he closed the door, everyone went out to change. Once in the locker room, the girls would talk to each other while Zambina found something to have fun with. Lita. What are you doing, Zambina-san? Zombie. I found a hole that leads to the boys' locker room. Lita. Stop doing that, it's inappropriate. Zambina. Force me. I would try to look through the hole, which would be quickly blocked by a somewhat annoyed Kaneko and a Himari who tried to stay calm but still sent a dark presence. Himari. Excuse me, but what were you trying to do? Calm voice and innocent smile. A dark presence equals pure terror. Zombie. Somewhat scared and nothing. Kaneko. Perverted zombie. While on the men's side. Hiba. Are you sure they tried to look over here? Izuku. I bet you anything you want that, yes. Hiba. 1 week lunch. Izuku. Deal. After they finished changing, they headed to the beta training area where an Almighty was waiting for them in her characteristic pose, Superman style, and a Cuss who was eating a bag of chips with stars in her eyes because they were so tasty, basically like a little kid with his favorite candy, just without making a mess with the food. Almighty. Their hero and heroine costumes are great. The BNA outfits are the same. Izumi has the female version of Izuku's outfit only without the mask, and his protector works as a mask to enhance his quirk or in case of smoke. The costumes of the others will be the following. Ria's Grimoire. I literally looked for the least revealing one I could find to make it more in line with the story, and I will do so with all of them. Kaneko. Kaneko's is the one on the right side adapted to its eyes. Akeno Himejima. She keeps her Lightning Empress costume. Zenobia Quarta. I'm giving her back the outfit we saw her wear in the anime. Udo Kiba. I thought it was the one that best suited his style. Himari Nahara. I found the battle clothes that Himari already had in her anime to be too daring for this story. Zambina. He will have his weapons on the sides of his pants and on the back, instead of saying Mon, it says Zombie 1. Monako. On the back, instead of Mon, it will say Monoculus, it takes the Latin meaning which is I. Asper Vladi. It is also adapted to your figure and height. Asia Argento. I leave her in her nun's attire since that suits her better. Melissa Shield. I really couldn't find a better one. This Izuku has the vector suit that was shown in previous chapters. Us, seeing everyone enter, would be a little surprised by some designs and curious about practically all of them. Almighty. Alright. Let's get started. Us. Today's exercise will be team battles that will be chosen at random Lita. Excuse me for interrupting, but why won't you stop eating? Us. Why do you keep being disrespectful by interrupting others? Zambina. Whatever, can you continue this time without pauses? Us. Okay, we will divide them into teams of 2 people, with 5 teams representing the role of the villain who has to defend a bomb, and the other 5 teams will represent heroes who have to capture the villains or get the bomb before a certain time. Minoko. How will the teams be decided? Us. As I said, random, but since I didn't explain the method, I'll give it to you as valid, summoning his staff with which he would make an urn with slips of paper appear. Of these slips of paper, 10 of them have an H at the beginning, and the other 10 have a V. Depending on what they get, they will be heroes or villains. Each letter H and V have pairs from AE, so they know who their partners are and what role they are going to play in this test. After explaining it, each person went to pick up a piece of paper from the ballot box, leaving it like this. Heroes. Minako and Itsuka Team A. Hinoko and Himari Team B. Izuku and Zambina Team C. Yui and Kyoka Team D. Momo and Zenobia Team E. Villains. Hineko and Izumi Team A. Melissa and Yudo Team B. Lita and Akeno Team C. Hitsumi and Asia Team D. Riaz and Gasper Team E. Note. I literally did this randomly on my laptop. Almighty. Very well. The time limit will be 15 minutes. Each team will be given a map of the facilities so they can memorize it and decide on a strategy. They will have 5 minutes to look at the map and make their strategy before entering the building. Hus. His enemies will be his mirrors this time eating an almond magnum lollipop. Almighty. The A team of heroes will face the A team of villains. After that announcement, the team of villains was given the map and left before the heroines to the building, which 1 minute later were given their map and taken to the entrance of the building to wait for instructions. During that time, both teams decided to talk to each other to plan the strategy and get to know each other a little better. Izumi and Kaneko were talking to each other to see their abilities and how they could work correctly. On Minako and Itsuka's side it is something similar, having their strategy ready and an emergency one in case things do not go as they had already planned. Classes with Cuss, Team A Fight, XD. I strongly recommend reading. Once the practice started, Itsuka decided to enter, while Minako took parts of an assault rifle from some pockets of her suit to assemble the weapon with a silencer and a sight with infrared vision. Being in the building next door, placing herself on the 5th floor, she could see the bomb and Izumi and Kaneko, thanks to her infrared sight. By the way, the weapon he uses is a Colt M4 carbine with a sight and infrared attachments like this one. Itsuka, for her part, decided to go in little by little, giving Minako enough time to get into position so she could tell her the location of the bomb and her enemies. Meanwhile, she thought about everything she knew about her enemies and planned ways to subdue them until she finally heard her partner speaking to her through the communicator. Minako. Kendo-san, the bomb was moved to the 4th floor. One of them kept the bomb and the other is going in your direction. I don't know who is who, so be very careful. Itsuka. Thanks for the information, Minako-san. I'll be careful. Thank you very much. After that it wasn't long before she met Kaneko on the 2nd floor, who despite being in a relaxed position, you could feel how she was prepared for anything, so the two began to exchange blows, Kaneko having a clear advantage, whether it was due to experience, agility, strength and speed, but what Kaneko never expected was a dart that hit her square in the neck. She quickly got rid of it, but she was already feeling quite tired, to the point where she could no longer dodge Itsuka's blows, moving on to block them, but that didn't last more than 2 minutes before she fell asleep. Itsuka, taking advantage of the fact that Kaneko fell quickly, immobilized her with the capture tape and then spoke through the communicator. Itsuka. What does Minako-san look like? Minako. It was a yielder for wolves. Itsuka. Don't you think you went a little too far? With a drop of an I'm-style sweat. Minako. Well, I don't know, it took a while to fall, so I think it was okay. Itsuka. Try to occupy a less powerful one with Izumi. Izumi. That won't be necessary. Throwing a fire-powered punch. Itsuka didn't expect the blow, so she ended up receiving it full in the stomach, which made her spit out some saliva at the same time that the air was knocked out of her, but being able to recover fast enough to avoid a second blow that was going in the direction of her face. Minako, for her part, when she heard the scream she got scared, but quickly positioned herself again to shoot, but realized that she had no angle, so she asked Itsuka to move her place to have an angle. Itsuka just nodded, implying that she accepted the duel, but in reality she confirmed to her partner so that the strategy would work, so Izumi decided to try to keep his distance, being something more complicated than he thought, since Itsuka was able to dodge his shots, although several began to burn some parts of his suit. Itsuka didn't worry about that for several reasons. 1. She was in combat training and she understood a long time ago that in a fight clothes are the least important thing. 2. There were no men in the place. 3. They weren't revealing areas or serious burns. 4. Even though she knew that the only 2 men in her class were watching her, she knew that they were the least perverted. After a while repeating the same thing, it was announced that there were 3 minutes left, so Itsuka began to approach, making Izumi move to avoid a big hit. When he got back up he was going to throw more fire, until he saw how Itsuka had a smile which disconcerted her, until he felt something that had hit him in the neck. When he took out what he had, he realized the orange-haired girl's strategy, until in a very short time she fell asleep. Almighty. The heroines win. After that, they were called while some robots took Kaneko and Izumi to the infirmary to wait for her to wake up. Once Minako and Itsuka arrived at the observation room, they stood next to Almighty while Cuss was floating, eating a Miguelito popsicle. For those who don't know them, these are them. Almighty. Thanks to what we saw, we can say that his performance was incredible. Cuss. However, there is something we need to discuss before the next match. Almighty. And who could tell me who adapted best to the exercise? At this, Momo quickly raised his hand. Almighty gave him the floor and he gave his speech. Momo. Itsuka was the one who adapted the most, having been able to control the fights she had with Kaneko and Izumi, being able to keep them going until Minako shot. Cuss. Sorry to interrupt you, but Minako was actually the one who adapted the most. Momo. Could you explain why? Somewhat annoyed since she didn't think Cuss was going to say anything right, but she tried to stay serious anyway. Cuss. Despite the fact that Izuku gave an admirable performance, who did the best was Minako since knowing her abilities and strengths, she decided to stay at a great distance trying not to be discovered, and even after they discovered the strategy, Minako remained out of the range of vision at all times, taking advantage of a window that was broken before to avoid them discovering from which side the shot came. Having the surprise factor all the time occupying Izuku as a distraction while she waited to give the decisive shot, avoiding the danger of hitting her partner, staying calm all the time to avoid getting desperate and making erroneous shots that could give away the location, informing Izuku when they were in a good position and when she could stop moving away having a perfect shot. At this explanation, even Almighty's jaw dropped to the floor as this explanation was like that of a person with years of experience. Huss. I'm not going to deny that you're partly right, but you have to take into account all the possible variables to choose the best option and carry it out. On this occasion, we didn't give many details about the situation, so Minako, taking into account the little information he had, was able to react in a way that was more appropriate to the majority of situations that can exist when having so little information. Momo. Taking that into account, I have to say you're right. Huss. I also say this to you, Almighty, that it is a training does not mean that it is graded more lightly. The training is precisely to prepare oneself for all types of situations. In these trainings they have to take into account all the variables and possible scenarios, since having so little information they must think about the best way to act through the law of the greater good. Zambina. And what is that? Huss. Think about what action brings about the greater good. You see, sometimes in the world you will have to do things that you most likely hate, but that action can bring about a greater good than if you did something else. Think about all the things you could do, and if you think that something can come out with a benefit for many more people, bring about a greater good than the other actions, even if those actions are more likely to work than the other. My advice is that you try that option first, since even though the probability of success is lower does not mean that they are zero, there is still a possibility that it will succeed, and as long as that option has a small percentage of success, that is sometimes better than nothing. Hyoka. Does that mean that sometimes it's better to play it safe? Huss. Indeed, because if you take a chance, at least once in a while it will probably result in success. I already said it, sometimes you have to stick with what is safe so that later, if necessary, you can plan something more calmly, with more information and more time, which could bring about a greater good. Yui. But with bringing a greater good, are you also referring to doing something bad to bring a greater good? Huss. These are things that until now you will not understand, but yes, sometimes doing an action that at first glance is bad could have brought a greater good. As an old riddle says, you are driving a train, you can change your route to one of the following. In one there are 5 people tied up without being able to move waiting for you to run them over. In the other path, there is only one person in the same situation. Which path do you take? Everyone looked blank upon hearing that, as they didn't expect a silly question to be so right, as at that moment they understood what he meant by a greater good. Huss. Sometimes life will present you with challenges like the one I just told you about, and at that moment you must seek a greater good, an action that brings good to as many living beings as possible. Everyone after that understood that the life of a hero wasn't all roses, they were situations where you look for a way to do more good at the cost of even one life or more. Classes with Cuss, Team B fight. After the events of the last chapter, the hero and villain teams B were asked to get into position, giving them 5 minutes each to prepare. Heroes. Kanoko and Himari. Villains. Melissa and Kiba. After 5 minutes passed, the team of heroes entered the building with a strategy in mind, just like the villains. Both teams were more than ready for the test, or so it seemed. Melissa. So you're saying that if we fight together we could defeat Himari? Kiba. The bomb is on floor 1, and they are not going to check that floor, since they will assume it is on floor 4 or 5, so we will take the battle to floor 5, and if they defeat us, at least we will have the advantage of time. Melissa. But if they catch us both, the test would be over. Kiba. Seeing how Ka-sensei acted with the previous team, I wouldn't be surprised if he continued the test, even knowing that they have no idea where the bomb is, so as long as we use up enough time, then we'll have the victory. Melissa. If you put it that way, activating one for all. Full cowling, you have to do it with a look full of determination. In the observation room. Almighty. I don't think it's the best idea to leave the bomb so free. Huss. It's a good strategy. Momo. Why do you think that, sensei? Huss. You see, they don't know on which floor the bomb is located, and most likely, being a multi-story building, they would place the bomb between the 3rd and 5th floor, since leaving it on the 1st or 2nd would be too risky, but for the same reason they don't investigate the most obvious, and for that reason many of those attacks can end up being successful for the villains. Almighty. And even if they capture the villains, they won't know where the bomb is, so if they run out of time. Huss. Exactly, it doesn't matter if they capture the villains, if they don't know where the bomb is, they will lose since they didn't achieve one of the two main objectives. Momo. Catch the villains and hold the bomb. Where? Exactly. Team of heroes. Himari. They're on the 5th floor, they've probably set some kind of trap to make us waste time. Hinoko. Maybe I can hold Melissa off with my mushrooms, but I'm not sure they'll last long enough. Himari. As long as you can distract her even for 5 seconds, you're already helping me a lot. Once the team of heroines entered, they were surprised because on floor 1, they did not see a trap, and just as Ka said, they did not check floors 1 and 2 well, so they left the bomb without knowing it and went to floor 3, where a small trap took them by surprise, but Himari was able to avoid being harmed by the traps, and Komori decided to wet the floor later, making mushrooms grow, which were caught by some traps. After 5 minutes of avoiding traps, they reached the 5th floor where Kiba and Melissa received them, each with a blow that Komori barely avoided, and Himari only returned it to Melissa, who was barely able to cover herself, so that later both teams regrouped ready to attack as a team. Kiba and Melissa would launch themselves against Himari, who was the most dangerous, but what they did not realize was the water that Komori had dropped, who created a large mushroom which served to separate both, leaving Kiba at Himari's mercy, which took Kiba by surprise, who could barely defend himself, since Himari was too fast and strong. I clarify that Kiba is faster, but does not have as much strength, that is why he does not return attacks, and can only defend himself. What Himari didn't realize was the powerful blow she was about to land, if it weren't for a somewhat large mushroom that could barely lessen the force of the blow, making Himari only step back from the wave of wind left over from Melissa's blow. Once they were separated, Kiba was able to take the rest he needed, being able to agree with Melissa just by looking at her, just like Kanoko and Himari. After 5 more minutes, Himari can be seen somewhat injured, while Kiba is barely standing, and Melissa is in an attacking pose in front of Kiba. On the other hand, Kanoko does not seem injured, but she is somewhat tired from creating so many mushrooms in defense of the Nekashu. Himari. I think it's more than clear who's going to win this, right? Kiba. Are you talking about the test or the fight itself? He said it with a smile, which bothered Himari a little. Kanoko. Himari-san, the aforementioned turns around, I don't think I can hold out much longer, she said that very exhausted, and you could tell she was a bit pale. In the face of this scene, Himari was quite worried about her partner and was now determined to end this as quickly as possible. He decided to quickly rush at Melissa, who could barely protect herself from the blow. The problem was that she wasn't at 100%, so she ended up with her arms quite hurt and falling back a couple of meters until she was almost at par with Kiba, who was in no condition to fight either, so he decided to give in and surrender. Kiba. You know what, I'm giving up, I can't fight, and if Melissa keeps pushing herself, she'll end up more dead than alive. Himari. Then I think we've won this exercise. Melissa. So you already found the bomb? Himari. Kiba. You have us, but what about the bomb? Until that moment, Himari hadn't realized the fact that she had never seen the bomb, and when she realized that she hadn't been given the victory yet, she knew that she had to find the bomb and quickly, since she had already lost a lot of time with those two. Himari. I have to hurry. Kanoko tried to stand up to help him, but Himari stopped her. Himari. Please stay there, you've done more than enough for me, she said it all with a smile which calmed Kanoko and allowed her to rest as much as she wanted. While Kanoko slowly recovered, Himari began to run, checking all the rooms on the 5th floor, being somewhat nervous when she realized that the bomb was not on that floor, so she decided to go to the 4th floor, having the same result, this time being a little more scared of not finding the bomb, since if her calculations were correct, she had less than 2 minutes left, and that was not going to be enough time to check the other floors, she barely had enough time for one floor. So she decided to take a chance and visit the 2nd floor, failing miserably, giving the victory to the villains. After the nursing robots took Melissa and Kanoko to the infirmary to be treated by a recovery girl, Kiba, with Himari's help, went to the observation room where everyone was waiting for them, except for their classmates and Kaneko, who was still asleep. Almighty. Are you sure you don't want to go to the infirmary, young Kiba? Kiba. And no, I'm fine, just a little tired, with some rest I'll be fine. Huss. In that case, let's move on to the performance review of the teams. He said this by creating a chair with his staff so that Kiba could sit and not be standing all the time, since it was clear that he couldn't do it without help, and Himari wasn't going to be with him all the time either. Once settled, they asked the question. Huss. Who adapted best to the exercise? Momo. I think it would depend on who came up with the plan, right? Huss. Well, yes, it really is the whole team for adapting well to the plan and not revealing it until they already had victory in their hands. Almighty. I must say that the heroines did quite well, the problem was that they got overconfident. Huss. Exactly, because they were confident when they saw that the building had several floors, they went to the top floor, thinking that the bomb was there when in reality it was on the first floor. Amari. I was on floor 1. Huss. First, don't yell. That intimidates everyone without exception, and second, sometimes the best hiding place is right under your nose. Don't be overconfident. If there are 2 or more heroes, make sure that one checks all the areas and that the rest distract the villains or confront them directly to avoid situations like the one during the exercise. Almighty. Well, let's continue with the next teams. Class with Cuss, Team C fight. First of all, I want to apologize for not updating, and the truth is that I haven't had any inspiration. I'm still writing this without inspiration, but doing it as best as possible. Okay, let's go with the chapter. After Team B's fight, it's Team C's turn. Heroes. Izuku and Zambina. Villains. Lita and Akeno. Huss. Next up are the C teams, please, they already know it, just go and follow the rules. Almighty. Don't think it's. Huss. If they pay attention to you, you'll only need to explain it once. Almighty. Okay. After a couple of minutes, each team would arrive at their area where they would wait the required time to begin the test. So, while each team prepared, let's first look at the heroes. Izuku. Well, what skills do you have? Zombie. Aside from superhuman abilities and immunity to pain, no matter the injury I can't die unless they completely destroy my body and brain. I can also move my limbs, even if they're not attached to me. Izuku. I assume you can't make them float. Zombie. No, by the way, if a limb separates from me, I have to sew it or it won't stay in place. Izuku. Okay, I think I have an idea of what we could do. Zambina. Do I have to remove a body part? Izuku. I'll sew it for you later. Both. Okay. Now let's see what the villains do. Lita. Alright, we have to come up with a plan for this. Moving her arms like a robot. Akeno. It seems you're excited, but first, stop making those robot movements. Second, I agree, and third, tell me more specifically how your quirk works. I am called the Empress of Lightning, since my specialty is lightning-based magic, although I have very good physical abilities as well. Lita. I see my quirk allows me to use the repulsors on my legs as a kind of propellant for my legs, allowing me to run much faster. Akeno. Does it only work if you run? Read. Indeed. Akeno. Well, look, this is the best I could think of. I'm going to stay here to defend, since being a more open area I have a chance, plus my power is somewhat destructive, I can control the intensity and all that, but I think it's better for me to stay as the last line of defense. You go to the lower floor to try to hold them back or exhaust them enough, try to waste time to have that in our favor. Lita. I like the plan, so it's decided. Akeno. Then go downstairs to prepare the environment, I will also start preparing this area. After seeing what both teams are planning, let's start by seeing how this develops. Almighty. Start. Over the loudspeaker. Huss. Stop yelling. You have the damn microphone stuck to your mouth. Fed up with the speaker too. After that, the heroes entered, but from different sides. Zambina entered through the ventilation system, taking advantage of her stealth abilities, and while Izuku entered through the main entrance, but as a black and white cat, despite what many thought. Well, Ida was not that intelligent, and when she saw the cat she did nothing until Akeno spoke to her through the communicator. Akeno, over the communicator. Have you seen something or someone yet? Lita. I haven't seen anyone, just a black and white cat. Akeno. Let's see, are you telling me that in a battle simulation, in a simulated city where no one but us can enter, and where there isn't even a single animal, a cat appeared? Lita. Yes, because I understand. Akeno. And what are you waiting for? After that, Lita ran to where the cat was, but before turning a corner, she tripped over Izuku's foot. Obviously he put it there on purpose, ending up on the floor and facing Izuku, who apparently cornered Lita. Izuku. I really didn't think the cat thing would work. Lita. Tell me, who would have imagined it? Huss, over the speaker. You're supposed to be smart, it was completely logical, even the dumbest people in your class knew it, even without seeing that Izuku-sen had transformed. Lita. I think that was unnecessary. Well, that's not going to stop me. She didn't finish speaking because Izuku decided to knock her out so she wouldn't talk anymore and decided to see how the zombie was doing. Izuku through the communicator. How are you, zombie? Zombie. Whispering through the communicator. More or less, I found the room, but I don't know how to get in. Izuku. I'll go to the room and distract her so you can put your hand in and we can get it. Zombie. Floor 4, it seems to be an empty floor, so be careful, it will notice when you go up the stairs. Izuku. Okay. After the talk, Izuku went to the 4th floor, seeing that it was indeed empty, with some columns, the bomb in the background, and an Akeno with a wicked smile. Izuku, now knowing how sadistic a Keno can be, decided to go head-on with Gyuzushoku Haki, the armor one for those who don't know or don't remember, and with his eyes blindfolded so that a Keno couldn't deduce anything when she saw where Izuku was looking. The Keno. I see you finished that girl very quickly. Izuku. Can you at least memorize their names? The Keno. I can, but does that matter? Izuku. I'd like to say yes, but honestly, there are some exceptions. The Keno. I know I can't beat you, but if I can hold you off long enough, I'll win. Izuku. And you're not going to worry about my partner? The Keno. It's hard not to notice if he enters the apartment, the bomb is far from the windows and on the other side of the stairs. Izuku. Well, if you put it that way, I don't have to talk anymore because we won. The Keno. Puss, over the loudspeaker. The heroes win. Go to the camera room for feedback. The Keno would turn to look at the bomb and would see Symbiana's left hand in the bomb. She would be surprised for not seeing how she got in until she saw Symbiana fall from the vent above, understanding why Izuku hadn't bothered to attack her and instead talk to her. Once they picked up Lita, who was still unconscious on the lower floor, they went to the camera area where the others were waiting for them. After arriving and leaving Lita in a chair while she woke up, they stood in front of the class waiting for their feedback. Puss. Now does Miss Know-It-All have something to say? Type. Puss. I'll take that as a no. Well, for a Keno, it would only be that in those cases she is more attentive to your surroundings, avoiding all possible scenarios. The Keno. I'll keep that in mind for next time. Puss. For Izuku, even though he did well, you should have faced a Keno far from the bomb, because if one of her attacks had reached the bomb or her attacks had hit your partner, it would have been a really bad ending. Izuku. I'll try to correct that in the near future. Puss. That's better than nothing, and you, zombie, I really don't have much to say. Your stealth skills are truly incredible, so a Keno wouldn't have noticed. I would only recommend that you don't act until the threat is further away, but other than that, I really don't have anything to say about you. Well done, zombie. Symbiana. Thank you very much, Ka-sensei. Now could Izuku-sen help me sew my hand? She said this while holding her hand while she was waving. Nico and Jiro would have become somewhat uncomfortable because of that, so they would just look away while Izuku asked Kas for thread and a needle. After a few moments, he took Symbiana's hand to take her to a slightly more secluded place, since he realized that seeing her hand out of place made some of her companions uncomfortable. Kas. Now Team D, go to your places, we'll start in 10 minutes. Team D. Heroine. Yui Kadai and Kyoka Jiro. Versus. Villains. Kitsumi Bakugo and Asia Argento. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.